Once upon a time, far in the universe, there was a world full of dragons and strong fighters. In this world, there lived a young boy named Shin Yun. He was originally from Earth, but somehow he was teleported to this mysterious world. The only thing he remembered was, back when he was on Earth, he was a lonely and useless person, and one day he fell down the stairs and lost consciousness. When he regained consciousness, he found himself in this new world. It seemed like somehow he was reincarnated. However, it didn't change the fact that he was an utterly hopeless person. Therefore, he ended up lonely again. After spending several years in despair and regret, one day when he was riding his dragon, he saw that the 9 great dragon masters of the world were fighting each other. Although he was mesmerized by the sight, he was still sad because he also wanted to become a strong dragon master like them. He wanted nothing but to fight powerful adversaries alongside his love, Yiluo Xiang. Yilu was no ordinary girl. She had already become the 6th great dragon master. Reminding all of his memories, Shin was so lost in thoughts that he forgot that there was a battle going on in front of him. As he was extremely near the battle, he and his dragon were caught up in the collateral damage. The debris flying from the battle was enough to knock both of them down. When Shin fell down on the ground, he saw that the meteorites were falling from the sky above him. At this point, he was sure that his life was about to end. So he stood there and waited for the meteorites to come his way. He was happy to die because his misery was finally going to end. When the meteorites hit him, he fell unconscious. After regaining consciousness, he saw that he was in a deep well with some other kids. Yi Lu was also among the children. He was shocked to see that he was reliving his past life. Somehow, his life started from the same point when he was reincarnated in this world. His body also returned to when he was 7 years old. This entire scenario served as a catalyst for his hope, because he already knew what was going to happen in the future. Therefore, by taking the right steps, he could avoid the mistakes he made in his past life. The well was deep, and the children had no food. Due to these circumstances, survival was almost impossible for all of them. In his past life, Shin only cared about his own survival, which caused the relationship between him and Yi Lu to get worse. However, this time he was determined to save both himself and Yi Lu from this danger. As he already knew the future, he knew that they would be rescued about half a month later, and due to food shortage, the boys would start to hunt the girls to feed on their blood to survive. Because of this incident in past life, Yi Lu started to hate men, but this time Shin was already prepared to change the situation when the time came. He secretly gathered moss leaves from the bottom of the well to use them as food, and also found himself a sharp stone to save himself and the girls from the bloodthirsty boys when they would be attacked by them. As he was already fully prepared, he sat down and waited for the 7th day, when the boys were going to attack the girls.
Do you want to know the name of this manga, along with all the manga names of the recaps we did in our channel? How about also the chapter numbers our recaps end? You can simply ask the names in our Discord community for free, or become a donor to get them all in one place. You can either be a donor in Patreon, or be a member in our YouTube channel. Just scan this QR code, or go to the link in the description to become a donor. Moreover, becoming a donor automatically makes you a VIP member of our Discord server, with over tens of thousands of members.
Although his initial plan was to wait until the 7th day, but after seeing Yi Lu's miserable condition on the 3rd day, he stepped out to help her to leave a good impression on her. He sat beside her and gave her a moss leaf. He told her that it was edible and it will replenish her strength. She was a bit hesitant at first, but after Shin told her that it was the only hope of survival, she ate it immediately. Although the leaf was extremely bitter at first, it gradually became sweet. After she ate the leaf, she told Shin that she didn't have anything to give him at the moment. That's why she owed him one. Shin wasn't surprised to hear that, because he knew that she never asked for anything from anyone in his past life as well. However, she shyly asked him to give her one more leaf to eat because she was still hungry. Shin was shocked that for the first time, Yi Luo was feeling nervous and shy. This drastic change in Yi Luo's character occurred because of Shin's decision to help her. As she adorably asked Shin for the leaf, he wasn't able to refuse and handed over another leaf to her. However, when she ate another leaf, she asked him for 2 more leaves. At first, Shin thought that maybe she was just a little greedy because she was still a child, but after she said that it was for the other 2 girls, Shin immediately fell for her kindness again and gave her 2 more leaves without a question, but only told to not let the boys know about the leaves. She was very happy to hear that he agreed, and she smiled for the first time in front of him. That made the bond between them grow even stronger. After seeing that smile, Shin vowed to always protect Yi and her angelic smile by becoming stronger. But for now, all he had to do was to save up his strength and get some rest to conserve as much energy as possible to save the girls from the assault. Therefore, he lied down to sleep for a while. However, on the same day, he suddenly woke up to some noises. When he followed the sounds, he saw that the boys were already assaulting the girls. He was surprised to see that they attacked the girls on the 4th day instead of the 7th. Despite the shock, he came back to his senses and attacked the boys, who were feeding upon girls' blood. After seeing his resistance, the boys grouped again and decided to kill him too. Shin took out his sharp crystal and immediately penetrated one boy in the gut with it. The boy was killed in an instant. When the other boys saw that their brother was killed, they became furious, and two of them rushed toward Shin. As Shin was already prepared for the attack, he blocked both of them in their attacks and countered with powerful blows. He pierced one boy in the neck and another in the stomach, and won against them easily as he already knew their moves. Now only one boy was left. He was also the leader of the group. Seeing his comrades die before his eyes, the leader became very angry and furious. He cursed Shin that he was nothing but a selfish little rascal. When Shin heard it, he charged towards the boy and punched him right in the face, telling him that combining his past life, he was even much older than his dad. The boy fell down on the ground after receiving the punch and was knocked out unconscious. After the fight was over, Shin rushed toward Yi Luo to check her health status. He was relieved to see that she was still alive. However, the other two girls were already dead. Although Yi Luo was still breathing, her health was not in good condition. The wound on her wrist was deep, which made it hard for Shin to stop the bleeding. He hugged her tightly to keep her warm, which helped her gain consciousness. After getting conscious, she was relieved to see that Shin was still alive and was sitting right next to her. While he was hugging her, the boy who was knocked out by Shin earlier also came back to his senses and picked up Shin's crystal to attack him. However, Shin didn't let down his guard and block the boy's attack. He immediately countered the attack and took his crystal back from the kid. After taking the crystal back, he punched the boy again, but this time he hit the boy with his full strength, which shattered the kid's jaw on impact. Shin got back to Yi and cradled her for some time. He told her that no one could even dream of hurting her because he would always protect her at any cost. He told her to get some rest to regain her energy. And then Yi fell asleep in Shin's arms peacefully, and tears were coming down of her eyes because of the comfort and warmth which she was feeling near him. Within a few minutes, she fell unconscious again. However, Shin was still thinking about the assault incident and why it happened on the 4th day instead of the 7th. He realized that distributing the leaves among the girls may have caused the assault to take place ahead of its time. This gave him the clue that he can only rely on his memory from his past life, because a single alternative decision could change the future. So he decided to not rely on his past life knowledge, instead choose the right choices at the moment. After some time, Yi Luo woke up from sleep and saw that Shin was preparing a cold bag for her to lower her fever. She was questioning herself why he was taking care of her so much and what was his true intentions behind it. When Shin saw her, he immediately ran towards her because he was happy to see that she regained her consciousness. He gave her some more leaves so that she could replenish her strength. After eating 6 leaves in one sitting, she was worried about Shin because he was not eating enough to cope up with his needs. But despite eating almost no food, he was still happy because he wanted nothing but Yi Luo to survive. Finally, his hopes were getting high that they could end up together after they were being rescued. However, things weren't as smooth as he thought it would be. On the 9th day, it started raining, but the rain was relatively low compared to his past life. It was barely enough to clear his thirst for the moment. Aside from that, it only made the ground muddier. He was worried that maybe his plan was busted, and now they were going to die in the well. After seeing his miserable state, Yi Luo told him that he shouldn't be worried about the food, because she was not going to eat any more leaves. Shin walked toward her and sat next to her. He told her that if only one of them were to survive, then he would happily give his life for her. But that didn't change her perspective, and she refused to eat more leaves. However, he suddenly kissed her and took her by surprise. She started to cry after the kiss and asked him why he was treating her so well, as she didn't even have anything to repay him back. Shin comforted her and told her that being able to protect her was already making him happy. Upon hearing that, Yi Luo fell asleep once again in his arms. Days passed one by one and their situations were becoming worse. On the 13th day, Jin's hopes started to shatter because by limiting Yi Luo's meals, her health started to fade and she fell unconscious again. Shin also didn't have anything enough to eat. He knew that if the situation continued like that, then both of them were going to die. So he decided to give up his life for the sake of Yi Luo's life. He came close to her and stabbed his hand with the crystal stone, which made his hand bleed. He opened her mouth and made her suck his blood. After a few moments, Yi woke up by feeling moisture in her throat. She felt like someone was pouring water in her mouth. However, when she opened her eyes, she was shocked to see that Shin was standing near her and feeding her his own blood. She showed resistance, but Shin told her to not move because he didn't have much strength left in him. And after a moment, he fell down and lost his consciousness. Yi started to cry and rushed towards him because she didn't want to lose him too. Her screams were echoing the entire well. After some time, Shin heard the sound of water tapping. He thought that maybe he was dreaming and had died in the well. However, when he opened his eyes, he saw that Yi Luo was sitting next to her with a bowl of water in her hand. After seeing him wake up, she started to cry out loud and hugged him because she thought that he might die. Shin also couldn't believe that he made it out alive. Yi immediately poured a whole bowl of water into his mouth without warning, to replenish his strength as soon as possible. As predicted, he choked on water because it caught him off guard. Still, he was happy to see that both of them made out alive. While both of them were having a talk, a man came to them and asked Shin if he was all right or not. It was Ada, the group leader of a bandit gang, who was also the one who rescued both of them. As Shin had already been through that time, he already knew Ada. So he called Ada by his name and told him that he was all right. Ada was shocked for a moment because he never told him his name before. However, he thought that it may have happened because he may be quite famous around the town because of his handsome looks. After a while, his two men shouted that they had found some good things in the well. Ada ran toward them to check out the stuff. However, he was disappointed to see that there were only some useless trash left in the well. He scolded both of his men and told them that they were not some garbage cleaners, so they should at least find something valuable. Shin, who was standing nearby, told them that they won't find anything valuable here, and they should go to the nearby village to eat something. They weren't fully sure of Shin's plan, but they agreed with him anyway. As village was still pretty far away, Ada called forth his dragon pig by shouting his name. Everyone was surprised to see the dragon pig except Shin, as he already knew about it. However, they all climbed the dragon pig and started the journey. On their way, Ada was continuously thinking about Shin, that how did he knew him. He asked them whether they want to join him, as both of them didn't have any place to go. But Shin refused politely that he couldn't bother them anymore, and that he also had his own plans for the future. Ada was disappointed at first, but his mood changed back after some time. After reaching the village, they all entered a hotel, where Ada and his fellows started to drink booze, while Shin and Yi headed toward the bedroom. Shin was so tired that he fell asleep in no time. After seeing him asleep, Yi also joined him in the bed and wrapped his hand around her neck. She was feeling very comfortable with Shin near him. All the time they spent in that well was flashing before her eyes. Her respect for Shin grew even higher by thinking about that time. After some time, she also fell asleep in his arms. When she woke up, she noticed that Shin's face was red and his body was burning hot due to the fever. She immediately sprinted outside to find some fish to make a soup for Shin. However, when she reached the fish shop and asked for fish, the shopkeeper told her that the money she was offering wasn't enough to buy the fish because she only had 6 copper coins with her. So the shopkeeper told her that she could catch the fish for herself by the riverside. She was happy to hear that, so she immediately went to the river to catch some fish. When she approached the river, she saw that there were too many fishes around there. She took off her shoes and entered the water, but to her surprise, the water was almost freezing cold. But she didn't let down her hopes and started fishing. However, it was not as easy as it seemed. After spending too much time, she didn't even catch one fish. But she refused to go back empty-handed and searched the deep water. While fishing in deep water, her foot slipped over the rock and she fell into the cold water. After her countless tries, she finally headed back toward the hotel. On the other hand, Shin woke up from sleep and was panicked because he couldn't find Yi in the hotel. He asked everyone, including Ada, about her, but no one had seen her. Then he asked the hotel manager about her, and fortunately he told him that a girl about his age had left the hotel in the morning. After hearing that, Shin ran outside the hotel while shouting her name in the market, but there was no clue of her. While running around, he also twisted his ankle and fell down, which made his foot bleed too. He was miserable and worried that maybe Yi left him alone again. He fell on the ground hopelessly and screamed Yi Luo's name out loud in the middle of the street. When he was on the verge of losing his hope, suddenly Yi Luo appeared in front of him and answered his call, as she was already back at the hotel. Shin was so pleased to see that she was all right, yet he still scolded her for being so reckless. Yi explained herself that she was fishing to prepare soup for him. Shin hugged her and told her not to disappear again without telling him. Although she was being yelled at, yet still she was happy that Shin cared about her so much. And that made her realize that once her mom had told her that one day a young boy would come and he would care for her more than her parents. She was assured that Shin was that young boy her mom spoke of. After some time, they headed back to the hotel, where Yi Luo applied bandages on Shin's leg. Shin also praised her for her bandaging skills. However, till this whole time, he was calling her by her full name, so she told him to call by her first name only. Shin was surprised because in his past life, no one was allowed to call her by first name, as she always hated the men. She also asked him why he was so passionate toward her. He told her that he had no specific reason except he liked her a lot. She agreed with him and said that whatever happens, she will always stay by his side. Following her, Shin also promised her that no matter what future holds, he would never abandon her. And this made their bond even stronger. After the conversation, both of them headed back to Ada and his crew to propose a deal. He proposed that if they wanted to become wealthy, then they had to follow his lead. Everyone was surprised to hear that, but Ada was curious and also greedy. That's why he told his men that they should at least try once. Therefore, he agreed to Shin's conditions. As first plan of action, Shin told him that they had to go to the Jumu town along with 30 bags of maize within a week. Ada was totally shocked by his decision, because Jumu town was approximately 5,000 kilometers far away from them. Ada told him that even if they flew at their maximum speed, they won't be able to make there in time, and on top of that they were also carrying 30 bags of grains. Shin said that it wasn't just a transport job, instead it was a way of training for his pig to become stronger. He baited Ada that they would make a lot of money if they would reach on time. This was enough excuse to make him agree. Therefore, Shin, Yiluo, and Ada left on a journey, leaving 6 of Ada's brothers behind, so that they could train and reach green copper rank to summon their own dragons. During the flight, Ada pushed his dragon pig as much as possible, as Shin told him to. Even though he was fatigued and tired because of training his dragon pig, his tiredness got away in a moment when he saw that his dragon had reached almost double speed than usual. While Ada was celebrating his dragon's improvement, Jin asked him how much would 30 bags of maize make in Humu town. Ada excitedly told him that they could sell the maize at double price, which means that they would make a profit of 300 coppers. Shin praised him, but also said that he was only a good transporter, not a good trader. Upon asking the reason behind it, Shin told him that they didn't have to sell maize directly, but to trade it with mushrooms. As mushrooms were easily grown on the lands of Jumu, they were cheaper in Jumu town than the market. Shin said that if they traded maize with mushrooms, then they would make extra 300 copper. Ada was flabbergasted by his plan and acted according to it. Later at the pawn shop, after a bunch of bargaining, Shin also sold his longevity charm for 5 gold coins. At night, Ada asked him why he was running all over the place. He replied that he shouldn't worry about that, as he already had plans for his future, and he also told him to get some sleep, because the next day they were meant to go out on another trip. Shin and Yi went back to their room, while Ada was still standing there, figuring out whether Shin really was only 7.5 years old or not, as his mindset was of a 30-years-old person. The next day, Shin told Ada to prepare for the journey to the Green Sea Plains. Ada said that it would take them about half a month to reach there, but Shin declined and told him to pace up his dragon speed to reach there within a week. Ada was again a bit hesitant at first, but due to humongous pressure by Shin, he finally gave up and agreed with him. As planned, Ada pressurized his dragon pig to fly at his maximum speed. However, collecting big money wasn't Shin's major goal. He didn't want to repeat the same mistakes he made in his past life, as he was only 7.5 years old, and he could summon his own dragon at the age of 8. That's why his first objective was to summon his own level 9 dragon, which was only possible by collecting Jade Blue Ocean Stone. There were many types of stones, with several strength levels, but he wanted to skip through the rough training path and directly acquire higher-level dragons by collecting a powerful stone. Higher-level stones were so rare that even elite people couldn't afford one. But as Jin had already been through his past life, he already knew where the Jade Blue Ocean Stone emerged. Therefore, his main priority was to acquire the stone and also become friends with 2 of the 9 dragon experts, Ming Xuan and Ye Qingying, to gain some experience. In his past life, these 2 dragons masters along with Yi Luo were the only expert dragon masters among the 9, who initially had low-level dragons, but due to hard work and training, got their place among the 9 experts. This was also the reason he had much more respect for those 3. During their journey to the Green Sea Plains, Jin was revising his options about his future plans. He estimated that buying higher-level stones were much more expensive than lower-grade stones because of their abundance. Where level 1 stone cost only 1 silver, level 4 cost 1,000 gold. However, it wasn't a problem for him, as he was going after the Jade Blue Stone, which was the only level 9 stone in that world. Acquiring such wonders was only possible through luck, but he also wanted to find another level 9 stone for Yi Luo, as she used level 4 stone in his previous life. He was even willing to give his Jade Blue Stone to her, but as her soul attributed purple color, that's why it was impossible for her to summon a Jade Blue Dragon. He remembered that they had left only a month before the Jade Blue Stone would be extracted. The guy who initially found the Jade Blue Stone was Shitu. He was one of the 4 honest miners. However, due to their sincerity, they spread the news almost immediately, which caused their demise by the hands of ill-willed people. Anyone who set their hands on the stone certainly met their demise. Therefore, the stone was then called the Doom Stone among the people. Shin was happy to realize that if he found the stone first, then he would ultimately be the savior of many people's lives. After reaching their destination, they sat down on the cliff and gazed upon the endless plains. It was truly a magical scenery to witness. Suddenly, Ada jumped out of nowhere and told Shin that they could get 2 gold coins and 4 silver coins for 2,400 bronze coins. However, Shin had something else on his mind. He told him that they were not here to exchange coins but to trade again. Ada was mad at him because there wasn't even a market in the plains. But Shin told him to make 500 goatskins bags and fill them with mushrooms. He planned that way because mushrooms were rare in the plains, and the rich people of that area would pay any price for some good quality mushrooms. By packaging mushrooms in good quality bags, they made it look premium, so the people wouldn't judge them as fake. He told Shin that they could easily sell it for 1,000 copper per bag, meaning 10 times the profit. Both Ada and Yi Luo were shocked to hear that and doubted him. However, after some time, he sold all of the bags for 50 gold coins. Ada was dumbfounded by this accomplishment, as he had never seen that much gold in his entire life. Both of them asked Shin how he sold the bags with over 100 times the profit. He told him that if he had revealed his plan earlier, then they would have doubted him. Although Shin made 50 gold coins in a day, he wasn't going to stop there. He immediately asked Ada to buy rice wine with all of that gold coins and prepare to head towards Death City. Ada, as usual as before, refused his idea as the survival rate of passing through the Death City was below 10%. However, he convinced him by saying that he knew a safe route to the Death City. By going to the Death City, they sold the wine for double the price, meaning now they had 100 gold coins with them. After selling wine in the Death City, they headed toward the Tashan City, which was the biggest city in the region, and also it was a place where Jadestone was going to emerge. Ada asked Shin what were they going to trade next. Shin patted him on the shoulder and told him that it was finally the time to relax and have some fun. As usual, Ada was tempted by the idea and made a run to the hotel. Shin and Yi Luo were left alone now. As his main goal was to mine the jade blue stone, he told Yi to wait for him until he came back. Yi Luo was surprised to see that he was going alone for the first time. Yi Luo started to cry as she thought that Shin was going to abandon her. However, Shin comforted her and told that she shouldn't be worried and promised that he would come back and tell her his secrets. After he headed out to the location of Jade Stone, he bought a fine gold shovel from the market by selling out 1 silver fire-style dragon crystal. He obtained the crystal back from the Death City, and as in Tashan City fire-style dragon crystals were rare, it was sold for 1140 gold coins. From there, he bought that shovel for 1,000 gold coins. It was a bit expensive, but he knew that this ordinary shovel was going to become a rare item in future. After reaching the mining location, he searched there for hours, but still he didn't find any clue of the stone. After a while, he heard some noises. He followed the sound and found out that some boy had extracted a bag of blue glowing items. He was sure that it was the jade blue stone, but he couldn't do anything because the boys were older than him and probably were even stronger than him, and if he tried something foolish, then he might even be killed. While he was planning his strategy, the boy holding the bag in his hands noticed him. The boy asked him that if he wanted the bag so badly, then they would happily give him some gold coins. Shin was astonished by the offer and immediately offered 10 gold coins in exchange for the bag. The boys were also shocked by his offer, so they wasted no time and quickly exchanged the bag. When Shin opened the bag, he saw that it wasn't actually the jade stone but some glowing water radishes which glowed because of its micronutrients characteristics. He was so pissed at himself, as he could easily buy the cart full of those radishes for the same price if he wanted to. He was riding back to the town on his cart, when suddenly he threw one radish out of anger. Due to his throw, he lost his balance and fell off the cart and hit his head with a huge rock. His head was hurting badly, but he suddenly realized that the rock was surrounded by grass from all sides, as if it was dropped from the cliff. He had his doubts that maybe it was jadestone this time for sure. While he was examining the rock, he felt that somebody was coming toward him from behind. When he looked closely, he noticed that it was Shitu, which made him even more sure that the rock contained jadestone. Shitu was approaching him with the axe in his hand to smash the rock in half. He quickly came up with an idea and stopped Shitu to break the rock. He lied to Shitu that his father wanted him to bring back this rock to his house to repair some stuff, and that his father was already gone to ask people for help to lift the rock into the cart. As Shitu was a good-hearted and sincere guy, he believed Shin immediately, and also helped him to put the rock into the cart. After loading the rock, he thanked Shitu and his fellows and headed back to the town. As it was risky to extract the jade stone in the middle of town, he picked up his shovel and started to break up the rock in the forest. He struck the rock with the shovel multiple times. However, it was way harder than he thought it would be. But after a few more tries, he finally broke a large piece off the rock. When he looked closer, he was astonished by what he saw. After a long day of hard work, he finally found the jade blue ocean inside the rock. After extracting it from the rock, his joy was on top of the roof. He finally possessed the most powerful and legendary stone on the planet. He was very impatient to summon his own 9.9 level dragon. Therefore, he started to work on dragon summoning right away. But before starting work, he left a note for Yi Luo so that she could be at ease. When Yi Luo woke up from sleep, she noticed a note under her pillow. She grabbed the note and quickly opened it, as she already expected it from Shin. In the letter, Shin wrote that he would be busy with his work for some extra time, so that Yi Luo shouldn't wait for him and enjoy her time in the hotel for an extra week or half a month. Shin also wrote that last night he didn't wake her up because she was sleeping so peacefully that he didn't want to disturb her. Yi was somewhat happy that he was doing all right, but still she was a little bit sad that she wouldn't be able to be with him for some days. While she was having thoughts, Ada suddenly barged into her room and said that Shin told him to inform her that he wouldn't be able to see any of them until his work was done. Until that time, he had already booked the inn for several days. And after delivering the message, Ada also ran off, as he was going to the party with girls. Yi Luo was all alone again. She had a trembling feeling inside her, which she never felt before. She thought that it may very well be because she was already missing Shin. Days passed by, and she was still wondering when Shin would finally finish his work and come back to her. On the other hand, Shin was trying his best in his isolated room to gain control over the stone. On the first day, he bit his finger to drop his blood on the stone. He then held the stone in his palm and started to integrate his soul with the stone. As he already had experienced it in his prior life, it was easy for him. However, to his surprise, he felt that something wasn't right. He saw that his dragons had 5 claws instead of 4, and it also had bright wings. It caught him by surprise, but he didn't let his guard down, as he didn't want to mess up the first phase of integration. He finally finished the first phase, but it was very tiring, so took a break. Usually when someone integrated their soul with the dragons, their dragon mark was developed on their bodies. Just like Ada had his dragon mark on his belly, Shin also got his dragon mark, however. It covered his whole body instead of just one spot like Ada's. He was a bit concerned about his dragon mark because he had a dragon mark with 4 claws instead of 5 on his body. Yet he continued his integration with the dragon's soul for 9 days, and it went alright till that time. Until the next day, when he was at the final stage of the process, all he had to do was to capture the dragon's core and absorb it into his body so that he could summon the dragon. Yet the core dodged him when he tried to absorb it. He was shocked to see that core was dodging him, like somehow it was rejecting him. Shin became frustrated as he came a long way, yet still he wasn't able to summon the dragon. However, he vowed that whatever happens, he would never give up and try until he achieves his goal. Therefore, he started to try again and again. On the other side, Yi Luo was sitting on the nearby chair, wondering when would Shin come back, as it had already been 9 days. She didn't even get enough sleep for the past 9 days. She was mumbling to herself while lying down, when suddenly someone patted her head. She quickly looked upward and saw that Shin was standing before her. She was extremely happy to finally get together with Shin. She almost forgot everything what she had been through. Shin apologized for leaving her for so long and told her that he had finished his work and now had to continue their journey. But first, Shin was hungry and wanted to eat something, so he asked her to come with him. Yi agreed with him immediately and went out together. On the dining table, Shin noticed that Yi was continuously staring at him for too long. He thought that it may be because she was anxiously waiting for him to return. He realized that she had almost no self-confidence. That's why she was depending on him way too much, and was worried that he would dump her. He held her hand and said that no matter what happens, he would never think of abandoning her, even if she chased him away. Yi denied that she would never chase him away, even if she had to die. After that, they continued their journeys as usual. For the next 6 months, they continued their journey, while Ada obeyed Shin's every command, such as transportation and trading all sorts of goods. Meanwhile, Shin usually used that time to train his spiritual powers. He trained himself by absorbing and compressing the energy into the core of the jade blue ocean. However, because of his past life experiences, he knew that core was still an external influence, which wasn't sufficient to produce high-quality energy. Therefore, he began to train himself by absorbing the energy into his own body, so that way he could fully utilize the absorbed energy. He continued to train himself steadily, and right from the basics, when suddenly Yi asked him a question. She asked how long they had to stay alongside Ada. Shin was curious as to why she asked such a question out of nowhere, so he pressured her to speak the truth. She told him that she didn't like Ada at all, as he was chasing after different girls every day. She said that because it was so immoral, she didn't want Ada to always be with them. Shin tried to calm her down and told her not to get worried, as guys were maybe just like that. Instead of calming down, she panicked even more as she thought that Shin would also turn like Ada. However, Jin told her that he wasn't like other guys, and he wouldn't go after any other girls except her. Again, 2 months went by, and Ada's 100 gold increased to 4,000 gold, while Jin's 100 gold were increased to 100,000 gold. Ada was obeying Shin's every command as it was heaven's decrees. Obeying the order, they all arrived to city of Kang. It wasn't bigger than the Tashan city, but was also the business-centered city. It also had the biggest trade center, which was the perfect opportunity for Shin to collect level 9 Dragonstone for Yi Luo. After arrival, he told Ada that they would be staying there for a month, so he could go and do his own things. As soon as he heard that, Ada immediately ran off, while Yi Luo was angry at him as he was shouting about partying with girls and ladies in the broad light. Shin calmed her down and told her to head back to the hotel. After reaching the hotel room, Yi asked him again that whether he would also become like Ada. Shin realized that her insecurities were raising even higher and that he couldn't treat her like a kid anymore. He was worried because with such character, she would never become the person she was in his past life. So he told her that he wouldn't be able to leave her if she became even stronger than him, so that he would have to rely on her. That sparkled her eyes and vowed to become stronger if he would help her. Shin agreed with her and assured her that the future her would become even stronger than him. He also said that he would be good with it, as long as she didn't dump him. She gently held his face and told him that it didn't matter to her whether she became stronger or not, because she would always stay by his side. Shin was pleased to hear that and thanked her for her sincerity. In the city of Kang, a once-in-a-decade treasure auction was about to begin. Shin knew that the Purple Soul Series Dragonstone would appear in the auction, so he already planned ahead to obtain it. However, obtaining level 9 Dragonstone was not as easy as it sounded, because there were only 10 such stones in the world in 10 million years. He told his plan to Yi that he came to the city to participate in the auction and to buy her a birthday gift. Yi was extremely pleased to hear that and wanted to buy the gift as soon as possible. However, Jin told her that in order to enter the auction, they had to gather around 1 million gold coins or a treasure worth the same. Yi's excitement vanished almost immediately as soon as she heard that, but Shin told her not to get worried. He had a plan for it. The next day, they went out to the trading center, where people had already started to set up their stalls. Shin told Yi to separately search for an item to save the time. He told her that she had to find a box of needles and buy it for 6,000 gold coins. As there were 1,000 of stalls, it was quite impossible to find one. Yet still, Yi found the box and told Shin that she had found the box, but the owner didn't want to sell it for 6,000 coins. Both of them went back to the box owner and traded 1,000 worth of box for 8,000, as Yi already didn't buy it for 6,000. In short, Yi was just a bait. After Shin bought the box of needles, he brought the needles to nearby goldsmith to remove the upper gold covering from the needles. As Shin requested, the goldsmith removed the upper layer and revealed the original needles. However, after removing the layer, the goldsmith was surprised to see that it wasn't just ordinary needles, but some kind of formidable treasure, as his fingers started to freeze just by holding the needles. After receiving the needles, they headed back to the stalls. There, Shin tried to bargain with a boy who had a shuttle-like item. Boy refused to bargain with him until Shin showed him the needles. The boy was surprised to see the needles, as they were actually evil yin needles, which had the power to freeze anything almost immediately. The boy checked the needles first and exchanged his item with Shin's without a question. However, Yi was not much happy by the trade, as she expected that the shuttle wasn't as valuable an item as the needles. When she asked Shin about it, he told her that it was surely an ordinary item, unless he inlaid a silver-grade fire dragon core into it. After he inlaid the core into it, the shuttle transformed into a rare hidden weapon named as Blazing Fire Shuttle. He told her that after the transformation, its value had increased to 1 million to 3 million gold coins. As they obtained their entry ticket, the only thing left was to wait for the auction to start. After the auction started, they opened their stall with only one item on display. A week passed by, and no one came to their stall except one guy, who offered 2 million coins for the shuttle. However, Shin rejected the offer immediately. Yi Luo was confused by his actions and asked him why he rejected the man's offer. He told her that they had to be patient if they wanted to earn big money. He said that he only rejected the offer because there were lots of people around, so that made an impression on other customers that the value of the item was more than 2 million gold coins. Yi was mesmerized by his way of thinking and never doubted him again. As a result, Shin traded the shuttles with someone for a dagger and a plain green hairpin, which was easily worth 2 million gold coins. Although the dagger doesn't seem special, but Shin knew that it was a good material to craft a sculpting blade. They went to the best sculptor in the town and told him to sculpt a jade hairpin. The sculptor did his work according to Shin's request, but somehow the results were shocking, as after 4 to 5 hours of work, a naturally formed rainbow phoenix was formed by a regular green hairpin. He asked Yi whether she knew for what purpose he crafted the pin. She was flattered for a moment and thought that maybe this was Shin's gift for her. However, on the contrary, Shin told her that he crafted it for auction. Yi was disappointed by what she heard but still didn't argue with him, so they both went back to their stall and waited for another good offer. Meanwhile, the news of the appearance of the Rainbow Phoenix pin was spread in the whole arena. After some time, a beautiful masked lady appeared before them and asked Shin to trade the pin for 5 golden grade equipment and 1 6-level dragon creation stone. He immediately accepted the offer. Everyone in the arena knew that the lady lost a big time with that trade, but as she was only concerned about her beauty, therefore it didn't matter to her. On the one hand, where Shin was happy for the amazing trade, Yi's heart was broken into pieces. But still, she didn't argue with Shin, as she didn't want him to feel bad about it. However, Shin knew almost immediately as he felt the disappointment in her eyes. He told her that he had planned an even greater gift for her, and the pin didn't suit her well. Yi's mood was enlightened after hearing that, so they started to trade again. He rejected every other offer, as the only item he wanted was a Dragon Lord fruit. It was a fruit that had an amazing power to revive even the dead. He knew that in order to get his hands on the level 9 Dragon Stone, he had to own the Dragon Lord fruit. He knew that a rich family was soon going to appear at the arena to trade the level 9 Dragon Stone for the Dragon Fruit. They were so desperate to obtain the Dragon's Fruit, because the young master of the family was fatally injured in a battle. Therefore, Jin decided to somehow trade his items with the Dragon Fruit before the rich family's arrival. He waited for some time until someone spread the news that somehow had a Dragon Lord fruit in the auction. This was his chance to obtain the fruit, so he told Yi to bring everything they had to the Dragon Fruit stall. They went to the stall and saw that the owner was only willing to trade his fruit for level 7 Dragonstone for his son. As Shin had only level 7 Dragonstone instead of 7, he offered the shopkeeper his level 6 Dragonstone and a complete set of golden grade armor, breastplates, greaves, and a helmet. He attracted the keeper's attention by saying what good would a level 7 dragon do if it couldn't guarantee the kid's safety. He told him that if he was interested in the trade, then he would find him in stall 6042. Shin and Yi headed back to their stall and waited patiently. Although Shin wasn't showing his anxiety, he was seriously nervous, because if the dragon fruit owner didn't show up, then all his hard work was going to end right there. While they were waiting for a response, they saw that 2 people were heading toward their way. Upon closer look, they noticed that they were the owner of the fruit and his son. The owner came to them after a very brief thought and traded the fruit with Jin. Shin's hopes skyrocketed again, as nothing was going to stop him from acquiring the level 9 stone. All they had to do was to wait for the owners to come. As there was one more day for auction month to end, Yi challenged Shin to a trading competition between them. They had only 2 items left with them, 1 golden grade boomerang and a golden grade leg guard, so both of them had to choose one of the items and trade for better items. Shin was also intrigued by the idea, so he accepted the challenge. Yi picked the boomerang, while Shin chose the leg guard. They both started their friendly competition and went to the stalls for trading. At first, Shin unfavorably traded his leg armor for 5 white jade jewelry and then packed them in a beautiful packaging to attract girls. However, this made the boys who were chasing the girls to trade with him. At the end, he ended up with 4 golden grades and 1 crystal grade armament. On the other hand, Yi decided not to trade her item until it was a sure win. At the end of the day, Yi traded last items, then Shin, who had gained an overwhelming popularity due to his amazing trades during the same day. When the day ended, both of them reunited at their stall and showed each other their item. Shin was confident as he had already done amazing trades. However, when he asked Yi for her items, she said that she didn't have good luck that day, but still she got a bracelet. When she showed it to Shin, he was surprised by her progress, as it was a crystal grade rainbow bracelet. He told her not to trade the bracelet as it suited her hand, but she said that in order to get him some good items, she had to trade it, although she was not happy about it. Shin asked her to trade her crystal grade armament with his, so that he could keep it for her. She agreed happily and traded with him. The next day, they continued their competition again, as it was the last day of the auction month. Shin continued to trade until he got 10 crystal grade armaments. Meanwhile, as she planned, Yi did an overwhelmingly huge number of trades. She did a total of 70 trades in the morning, reaching to an amethyst grade armament. This accomplishment was a bit scary even to Shin, as her growth was madly fast. By such huge differences between their items, Yi became a little overconfident and started to tease Shin. However, he told her with a serious tone that she shouldn't underestimate her opponents, otherwise she would never survive a real battle. Yi was surprised by that sudden tone shift. She continued to trade some more, while Shin was sitting on the same spot the entire time. Yi was wondering if she had upset him, and that's why he wasn't competing anymore. On the contrary, Shin wasn't upset at all, but was waiting to make final move at the arena. After some time, suddenly some intruders, while riding their dragons, crashed into the arena. Everyone was shocked, as the arena was guarded by the 10 strongest families by themselves. Yet still, no one dared to confront them, despite the fact that the dragon experts from the 10 families were also present there. It was because the intruders were none other than the owners of the level 9 Dragonstone, and their power level was at par with those of the 10 families. But also, they didn't mean any business but to save their young heir's life. After the grand entry, they apologized to everyone and asked for the Dragon's Lord fruit to trade with level 8 Dragonstone. Everyone at the arena was dumbfounded by their offer, as level 8 Dragonstone was worth 100 times the dragon fruit. Within the crowd, someone raised their hand and said that he had the dragon fruit. It was none other than Jin. However, he said that he wasn't willing to trade the dragon fruit for level 8 Dragonstone. He asked for something even more valuable. The dragon spokesperson from the family devised his strategy and raised his offer. He offered a level 9 purple Dragonstone in exchange for dragon fruit. Shin accepted the offer happily and gave him the dragon fruit. One dragon expert from the intruder's family left immediately to give the fruit to their young master as soon as possible. The speed of his dragon was so fast that it vanished in a second. It was because the rider was W. Bufan, the dragon expert who is known as the king of airspeed. Meanwhile, the spokesperson gave the Dragonstone to Shin. But before leaving, Shin asked the spokesperson to listen to him for a moment. According to his request, he waited for a while before heading back. Shin told him that according to the rumors, his young master was known to be injured by a nine-eyed dragon, so it would be beneficial to wear armor. The man confirmed the rumor and said that it wouldn't matter whether the young master wore one or not because it wouldn't make any difference. Shin told him that he had a complete set of 10 awakened crystal-grade armor with each one synergizing with another. Everyone was shocked, as it was nearly impossible to gather a complete set of synergizing armor in the trade center with over 1,000 stalls. Shin told the man that he would give him the armor if he handed over his weapon, which was hanging on the man's back. The man agreed to Shin's offer hesitantly, as he was giving off his very own weapon. As a result, he traded with him and took the weapon, and with that last trade, the auction ended. After the auction ended, both Shin and Yi showed each other their final items. Shin unwrapped his new weapon. It was an axe made of 5 elements: gold, silver, copper, metal, and tin. Although it seemed like an ordinary weapon, it was a weapon that apparently wouldn't appear for another 1,000,000 years, as it was nearly impossible to merge 5 different metals into one axe. On the other hand, Yi gifted Shin a set of 9 awakened armaments, consisting of gloves, a belt, and 7 throwing axes. He was very pleased by the gift, as he also had a set of throwing axes in his past life. As much as he was pleased by the gift, the more he was scared by Yi Luo's rapid growth, as she was able to achieve such amazing feats without prior experiences. However, after showing each other their items, both of them went back to their room and slept for the next few days. Spending a month at the treasure auction without taking a break took a toll on their bodies. They spent the next couple of days sleeping and waking up just to eat their food. After a few days of rest, one day Shin woke up Yi and told her to follow him. After a few moments, they ended up in a fancy restaurant, with no one around except them and the waiter. Shin told her that he booked the whole restaurant for just 2 of them. Yi was extremely shy at the moment because of the candles, and having thoughts about having a private dinner with Shin alone. Both of them sat at the table, and suddenly the light went off. After a few moments, candles were lit around them, making a heart shape. Shin told her that he did all of that just for her, and also told her a story about a boy who was once deeply in love with a girl, but he didn't protect her from the cruel world, which made her life very miserable. He was sad because of it, and wanted to fix everything, but he never had a chance in his life. And before dying, he requested the heavens to give him one more chance, to make everything right. Following the story, he wished a happy birthday to her, and told her that he would never leave her alone until he died, and would always protect her with his life. Yi became very emotional as she understood that the girl and the boy in the story were them. She started to cry, so Shin consoled her and asked why she was crying. She said that it was because no one had ever celebrated her birthday before. Shin laughed and said that if she wanted, then they could celebrate her birthday every day. Yi also laughingly refused and said that she would become way too old if that happened. After exchanging a few words, Shin gave her the birthday gift. When she opened the box, she was shocked to see that it was the level 9 Dragonstone. She immediately refused to accept the gift, as it was extremely expensive. However, Jin told her that he once gave his life for her, compared to that the stone was nothing. To stop Ada from disturbing them, Shin purposely gave him 10k gold coins and told him the safe passage to the Death City. By that time, Ada's comrades were also upgraded to 1-star bronze rank, granting them the ability to summon their dragons. Therefore, Shin and Yi Luo were the only ones who weren't able to summon their dragons. Shin asked Yi to start training so that they could also reach the 1-star bronze level. However, Yi was hesitant, as she thought that she may not be able to summon the dragon, but Shin consoled her that 8 out of 10 people can summon their dragon easily, and the rest of the 2 are either stupid or retarded. Instead of calming down, she became even more stressed and wondered what would happen if she were the stupid one. Shin told her to at least try once before giving up, as it could be a two-winged insect. Yi was terrified of the thought of summoning a fly. However, Jin scolded her and told her that by insect, he meant a beautiful butterfly. Yi immediately became excited as she loved butterflies. Shin told her that the dragon butterfly was one of the most powerful dragons, who had 360 degrees vision and the ability to split into 1,000,000 butterflies upon a critical hit. It also had the ability to vanish into thin air and enter into another space, where nothing could harm it. In the end, despite hearing the multiple abilities of the butterfly dragon, Yi chose to summon the dragon just because of its beauty. Both of them trained for 3 months to reach the 1-star bronze level. Although Shin started the training 1 month earlier and had his past life experiences, still the power difference between his level 9 and Yi's level 9 dragon was massive, which made it harder for her to control it. But the most shocking thing was that Yi managed to catch up with him in the last stage of training. After the completion of the training, both of them were ready to showcase their dragons and summon them for the first time. In order to summon the dragons, they went out to an open area and wished good luck to each other. Shin tried first and called forth his dragon. The jade-blue aura of the dragon surrounded him as soon as he called him. Shin felt a power rise in his body and managed to inject it into the core of the dragon. Hence, the jade-blue beast was summoned. Yi was astonished by his dragon's grand entry, which made her even more eager to try hers too. She called forth her blink butterfly dragon. It was a truly beautiful sight to witness, as it showered the whole area with purple and pink flowers. Shin was mesmerized by the beauty of both the dragon and Yi Lu. After summoning their dragons, they went out for a ride on their respective dragons. While flying over the city, everyone was shocked by the majestic duo of the dragons. Shin told Yi to showcase their dragon's might to the crowd. Shin flew higher into the sky with an amazing speed. Shin was shocked to see that, although his dragon was 1-star bronze level, still it had the speed same as his past life's diamond level dragon. However, to his surprise, Yi surpassed him in the blink of an eye and reached the destination before him. He complimented her and told her that she was as beautiful as an angel when was riding her dragon. Yi thanked him and also asked him a question. Therefore, she accepted her destiny and trained harder to enhance her spiritual powers. In the next 2 weeks, both of them practiced flying while heading toward Death City. In the meantime, they caught up to Ada, who had left 2 months ago. As the route they took was unknown to anyone, Ada was petrified to see a winged dragon and a blink butterfly. He could never have thought that they were the same children he saved from the well. When Ada saw them, he was surprised that those 2 children had already grown to become strong warriors. However, they were even more surprised to see that perverted Ada adopted 2 girls and was actually sincere for the first time. It was because Shin told him a safe passage to Death City, which was unknown to any man. Due to this route, Ada would be able to generate a lifetime of wealth in just 10 years, which made him able to adopt those 2 girls without worrying about food. This wealth sort of repaid Shin's and Yi's debt of saving their lives. But of course, Shin wasn't there just to repay his debt to Ada. His main goal was to defeat the higher-level fire dragons of Death City to increase his and his dragon's power level. He knew that if he wanted to make the demoness Yan Qingying and peacock Wang Mingxuan, then they had to become stronger. He could have asked a crystal-grade dragon expert to accompany them, but he couldn't afford it. And if there was a 1 in a million chance that he could turn against them, then there would be no way out for them. He told Yi to follow him to the base of the fire dragons and accompany him to fight the dragons with her spiritual powers. She was very frightened, but she couldn't refuse, as she didn't want to disobey him. After 3 hours of conversation and revising strategies, Shin passed on all the experience to Yi. As one said, a smart person learns through his failure, while a real genius learns from his elders' experiences and wins without failing. Yi listened to Shin's every word attentively, without any questions, and acted accordingly. Once they revised their strategies, Yi used her telepathic powers to form a connection with a small dragon to lure him in. After establishing the connection, she asked Shin to guide her. However, Shin said that he didn't have any idea about telepathy. Although Shin was completely honest with her, Yi thought that he was intentionally not guiding her, as he wanted to test her abilities. So, to impress him, she gathered all her spiritual energy and tried to overwhelm the dragon's will. As she expected, Shin was completely surprised by her tremendous surge of power in just few moments. After her attempt to control the fire dragon's will, she commanded the dragon through telepathy to come to her. However, they completely caught off guard when they saw that Yi accidentally established a connection with a powerful Death City's fire dragon. Shin told Yi to watch out, as the dragon was approaching them. When the dragon came closer, Shin told Yi to fall back. However, she stood there and tried to connect with the dragon to stop him. While the dragon was heading their way, it suddenly stopped in midway. Shin wondered if it stopped to spit a fireball, but the dragon only roared when it opened its mouth instead of spitting a fireball. Shin was confused and thought that it could be disabled, that it wasn't able to launch a fireball. On the contrary, Yi told him that the dragon wasn't disabled, and it actually stopped because it didn't have any ill intentions toward them, as the dragon thought of her as his mother. Shin was dumbfounded to hear that, as he never imagined that she could use the soul control or enslavement technique. He was shocked to see that she had already acquired a technique which she was going to master in the future. Despite the unusual circumstances, Yi was happy to get a new pet and started to play with him. But Shin told her not to lower her guard, as she hadn't mastered the soul control technique yet, and because of it, the dragon could turn against them at any time. Shin told her not to play around, as their main goal was to train there. It was obvious that he was jealous, but Yi didn't argue and started their training. Yi ordered the fire dragon to spit a fireball to check its intensity. The dragon obeyed the order and threw a fireball. The heat released by the fireball was massive, as it was expected from a golden-grade dragon. After testing its power, Jin decided to confront the dragon head-on. He shot the eclipse beam at the dragon. It hit the dragon directly, however. It didn't affect him. Upon closer look, Shin figured out that it was because of the fire dragon's corrosive ability, which cancelled his attack. The dragon's attention was shifted toward him, as Shin shot him with a beam. The dragon charged toward him and prepared to launch an attack. It opened its mouth and gathered massive energy. The concentrated energy formed another fireball, which it spitted toward Shin. As Shin's dragon was agile, it easily dodged the fireball by twisting its body shape. Yi was surprised that he dodged such a massive fireball at ease. That made her even more motivated to train harder. In order to increase their reaction time and dodging skills, they trained for a month straight. Shin could easily dodge hundreds of sandfire blasts simultaneously because of his dragon's agility. Meanwhile, Yi's rapid growth was even scarier, as she was able to enter the fire dragon's lair at will and dodge thousands of their attacks easily. Shin was a bit frustrated by her progress, as he was scared that she would dump him if he was of no use to her. It was expected, as she was ranked the 6th dragon expert among the 9. Shin was wondering why she was superior to him, even though her offensive skills were no match to his. While he was having those thoughts, Yi suddenly appeared before him. He fell down cause of surprise, so he scolded her. However, she unheard his words and told him to try entering the dragon's lair. She said that he could easily dodge the fire blast by predicting the trajectory and timing of the blasts. Shin told her that he couldn't dodge like her because she surpassed him in the dodging field. Yi refused to accept it and said that he had been going easy on her intentionally and wasn't the dragon's wings. Shin also thought about it for a few moments and wondered what would happen if he used the dragon wings. After a few minutes of thinking, he asked Yi whether she knew about the Dragon Fighting Academy. She responded positively that she always wanted to go there. It was one of the most powerful dragon academies in the world. Among the 9 dragon experts, 6 of them were once in the academy. It was popular because of its rich resources, high fees, and its way of teaching. As the name implied, the academy encouraged duel among the dragon warriors. In order to survive there, one had to become stronger. The academy used various methods to enhance one's basic techniques, and it was also Shin's main objective to enter the academy, as his basic skills were not qualified for someone named as the dragon expert. Shin told her that it was necessary for them to join the academy, as there would be times when he wouldn't be there to protect her, so she should become stronger to protect herself on her own. The excitement from her face vanished immediately, as Shin told her that she would have to fight alone. She then refused to join the academy, as she didn't want to train and fight without him. However, Shin convinced her that she would be fine without his help if she trained harder. But for that, they had to find a strong pet for her to train. Amidst the 9 dragon experts in his past life, 2 of them used the Sand Dragon of Death as their pets. These dragons were made of black grit and were even higher level than most of the dragons in the world. They had no weaknesses and wouldn't perish until eliminated entirely. It had extraordinary offensive abilities and speed like wind. Shin decided to catch one of the dragons for Yi too, so that she could pet it. When they reached the territory of the sand dragons, Yi saw that a dragon was bullying 2 fire hamster dragons. Although the description Shin gave her didn't match it, still she somehow knew that that dragon bullying tiny dragons was a sand dragon of death. As soon as she saw the sand dragons, she asked for a request from Jin. She requested that she didn't want to subdue the sand dragon as its nature was quite dominating and harsh. Instead, she wanted to pet those 2 hamster dragons, as they were cute and harmless. Jin told her that he knew that she didn't want a dragon with such nature. However, it was necessary for her to subdue the sand dragon in order to get stronger. He said that the route might be harsh, but it was for her own good. Yi listened to him quietly and understood that Shin was doing everything for her sake, so she decided not to disobey him again. Therefore, she told him that she would try her best to capture the sand dragon. After the agreement, Shin told Yi to stay behind him. as facing the sand dragon was very risky. Yi obeyed his orders and stood far back. Shin then entered the dragon's territory and fired a special attack, the vast jade heart. He was sure that it would at least provoke the dragon, but to his surprise, his attack didn't have any effect on it. The dragon was looking here and there, acting like nothing happened to it. Shin was furious to see that, so he decided to go closer and attack from a point-blank range. When he attacked with another vast jade heart from a closer range, suddenly 10 sand dragons appeared and canceled his attack. The sand dragons were defending the dragon, who Shin was facing. Shin immediately realized that in his past life, sand dragons always had a group of 10 dragons and their leader. During his fight with the dragons, the other 10 dragons defended the dragon Shin was facing. It meant that the dragon Shin was facing was the leader of the dragons. He was scared for a few moments, as the group leader of dragons always had the power greater than the subordinates combined. Although Yi was among the 9 dragon experts in his past life, she had only 6 butterfly dragons as her dragon's subordinate. However, the thought of capturing such a strong dragon for Yi made him regain his confidence. The subordinate dragons attacked him simultaneously, which caused him some damage. He had no idea how he would defeat them. Meantime, Yi telepathically connected with him and told him not to attack carelessly. As his attacks had almost no effect on them, however, their attacks had much more power behind them. Shin agreed and devised a strategy that he would lure the subordinates to attack their own leader. He acted according to his plan and lured their attacks toward the leader, and he also combined his vast jade heart attack with it. As expected, all the blasts hit the leader directly. As the attacks were much stronger than his dragons, it provoked the leader dragons and started to follow him. The dragon followed him into the sky until it stopped and prepared to launch countless attacks. Shin was shocked to see that it launched its continuous and countless blasts in midair. Some of the attacks hit Shin while some of them were dodged. After dodging the attacks and luring it into their trap, he told Yi to use her soul chain to capture the dragon. Yi gathered her spiritual energy and used her soul chain attack. It was a very strong attack, capable of capturing higher-level dragons at ease. However, when she used it on the sand dragon, the chains turned into sand. Both Jin and Yi were flabbergasted by what they just witnessed. The fight between them and the dragon went on for 3 days and 3 nights, yet they didn't have a single chance to capture the dragon. Whenever they tried to capture the dragon through the soul chains of Yi, it broke the chain every time. It seemed like the chain was of no use in front of that giant beast. Shin saw that although Yi wasn't involved in the battle directly, still it had a huge toll on her mental strength as she had to emerge the soul chains and tried to capture the dragons continuously. However, due to engaging directly in physical fights, Shin was more tired and fatigued than anyone else. If it wasn't for their level 9 dragons' recovery abilities, they would have been killed long ago. Yi was zoning out during the fight, as she was at the end of her strength, but still she continued to help Shin as he was trying his best. Meanwhile, Shin noticed that the sand dragon was using his normal transformation. It did a transformation which was completely new to him. He figured out that it was going to use the Dragon Sand's silver-grade technique called sand dust. It was an alarming situation for them, as they didn't expect it to reach silver level so soon. When the dragon used its offensive sand dust technique, it headed toward Yi after Shin dodged it. Shin looked behind and called Yi to watch out for the blow. However, when he turned her head, he saw that Yi's butterfly disappeared, and Yi was falling down, while the sand dust was approaching her. Shin quickly accelerated his speed to catch her in midair. He grabbed her and wrapped his jade blue dragon around to them to brace for the impact from the sand dust. Although he succeeded to save both himself and Yi, still he was severely injured because of the attack. When Yi opened her eyes, she saw that Shin was holding her in his arm, while blood was all over him. She was terrified and depressed by the sight of it, as she found herself guilty of hurting him. However, Shin told her that she shouldn't be worried about him, as his main purpose of his life was to protect her. After consoling her, Shin looked toward the dragon and said that in order to hurt Yi, it had to go through his dead body. He was extremely furious, as the aim of his life was nearly taken from him. As Yi told him that she didn't want him anymore, he decided to completely annihilate the sand dragon. He ordered his dragon to use its 5th claw to attack the sand dragon. Yi was shocked by the surprise attack of Shin. Shin told her that his dragon had 5 claws, but he usually used 4 of them in battle, while the 5th one was always hidden in nothingness. So whenever he needed it, he could summon the 5th claw and surprise his opponent. By seeing the intent of killing in his eyes, Yi decided not to back down from their goal, as she thought that backing down was going to hurt Shin's heart even more. When Shin was preparing for another surprise attack to eliminate the sand dragon, Yi held his hand and told him to try once more, because she was ready this time. By following her request, Shin decided to give one more try to capture it. Yi summoned her soul chains and shackled the dragon once again, while Shin used his acid water attack so it couldn't be able to transform into sand again. The combination attack by both of them caught the dragon by surprise, however it wasn't enough to gain control over it. The dragon again prepared itself to use the sand dust attack. This was Shin and Yi's last chance to capture it. If the dragon broke through the chain once more, then they wouldn't have the chance anymore. Therefore, Shin decided to use his last move. He wrapped his jade dragon around the sand dragon, and Yi told to strengthen her chain's grip. Yi was shocked by his move, as it was extremely dangerous to take full impact of the sand dust attack. However, she followed his instruction and strengthened her grip and soul connection. The sand dragon used its multiple sand dust attacks, while Shin took all of its blows head-on. As the dragon was completely wrapped from all sides by Shin's dragon, therefore, it also injured itself by its own attack. After the attack, both Shin and Yi used their last bit of strength to overwhelm the dragon. The sand dragon stopped moving, and hence, they managed to succeed in capturing the leader of the sand dragons. After the dragon calmed down, Shin unwrapped his dragon from it, while Yi's soul chain was still holding it. When Shin stepped aside, Yi ordered the dragon to open his wings through soul connection. The dragon roared for a moment and then obeyed her order and opened its wings. By what they saw, both Shin and Yin's happiness skyrocketed. They couldn't believe that they actually succeeded in capturing and taming the sand dragon. Shin was so happy to see Yi smiling from the bottom of her heart and was hugging her tightly. It was a moment for which he could even die. But the happier he was, the more he was worried of losing that joy. For the next few days, both of them slept in the open on the sheet of fabric, as they were extremely exhausted by the fight with the sand dragon. When they finally replenished their strength, Shin told Yi that they had to train for the next 3 months to enhance their basic skills, and also to make Yi able to fully control the sand dragon. Meanwhile, they also had to find more dragon crystals to pay their academy's fees. Yi agreed and started training right away. Shin told her that her first objective would be to make the dragon attack. She acted accordingly and started to connect telepathically with the dragon. Shin was overconfident that she wouldn't be able to tame the dragon easily, so he told her to attack him whenever she wants. Therefore, she ordered her dragon to attack him with a sand dust explosion tornado. While the dragon was approaching the Shin, he didn't step aside, as he was sure that the dragon would turn into a sand state. On the contrary, the dragon didn't transform into the sand state and attacked with the sand dust tornado, as Yi ordered. The attack hit Shin directly and made him fly. That taught him a lesson to never underestimate the growth of a genius. They trained for a few days, and Yi gained complete control over the sand dragon. It was tamed like a puppy and obeyed her every order obediently. The sand dragon had 2 states, one its normal state in which it was able to attack with the sandballs, and the sand transformation state, in which it had the ability to convert into the sand to block an attack. The initial time of transformation between these 2 states was 4 seconds, but due to gaining complete control and bonding, Yi's sand dragon needed only 2 seconds. This extreme paced growth of her was very scary to Shin, as she had become even faster than him. The harsh training and her battle strategies made her dragon a fearsome beast. She even defeated the rest of the sand dragons by destroying their lairs one by one. They gained many crystals because of her ultimate offensive powers. When they defeated the rest of the sand dragons, both of them sat at the top of the cliff and watched the beautiful sunset. While watching the sunset, Yi said that the sunset was very beautiful, and she had always admired the beauty of nature. Shin remembered that in his past life, nothing mattered to her except beauty, and she set a beauty standard and never cared about physical strength. This was also the reason that she always avoided unnecessary battles. After reminding his past life, Shin told her that he would find another dragon, which would be the most beautiful in the world. However, she refused his offer and said that beauty wasn't her only priority. Instead, strength was more important to her, and that's why she wanted to keep the sand dragon as her pet. She told him that her only goal was to become stronger and keep up with his expectations because she wanted to be his pride. After listening to that, tears started to break through Shin's eyes, as he never expected that Yi, who was a cold and arrogant person in his past life, would say something like that. He hugged her tightly and praised her efforts. While they were having a conversation, Yi saw that someone was coming from far away. Upon closer look, they saw that it was Ada along with his brothers riding their dragon pigs. When they landed, one of his brothers came toward Shin and told him that both he and Yi shouldn't be afraid of them and their powerful dragon because they won't harm them. Judging by Ada's brother's attitude, Shin figured out that Ada must have told his brother how well he treated them. Some of the guys even offered them a dragon ride, as they thought that they wouldn't have their own dragons, and said that they would be safe around them because they were very strong. As Shin expected, Ada made him and Yi look like some homeless fools to his brother. However, it didn't bother them. Let them have their own way. Suddenly, Ada shouted at Shin and told him to manage his goods. Shin was pissed by his attitude, but Ada came closer to him and said that he was ordering him just to show his superiority to his brother. He asked Shin to not expose him, as he had a good image in front of his brothers. Shin accepted his request and acted accordingly. However, Shin also asked Ada to meet with him in the inn at the town, because he wanted to discuss something. At night, Shin and Yi got to the rendezvous place, where Ada and his brothers were already waiting. When they met, Ada's brothers were furious at Shin, as he didn't tell them the exact inn, as there were about 40 inns in the town. However, their anger vanished almost immediately when they handed over the ownership papers of a big villa to them, and also told them that in the last room of the villa there were also huge stacks of delivery bills by which they could earn a lifetime fortune. Everyone was cheering and surprised by Shin's gift to them, while Ada was still sitting at the back of the box with a serious face. Ada suddenly stood up from the box and addressed everyone to leave him and Shin alone for a moment. His brother obeyed the order and left them alone, while Yi was spying on Ada and Shin from behind. After his brothers left, Ada suddenly hugged Shin tightly and said that he knew that the property papers and the delivery bills were the farewell gifts from Shin. He couldn't control his emotions and began to cry. Both Shin and Yi were shocked by seeing that side of Ada. Shin consoled him and said that it wasn't like they would never see each other, but were just parting their ways. Ada told him that he knew from the beginning that he was a miracle child and didn't want to leave him, but due to lack of power and passion, he would be a burden to him. Shin consoled him that he shouldn't think about it much, because it was just a temporary goodbye and nothing else. And with those last words, Shin said his goodbye and walked away. While he was heading back to Yi, Ada shouted to Shin that if he ever found himself in danger, then he would always come to his help. Shin didn't respond to his words and continued to walk away without looking back. Shin then called out Yi to stop hiding and prepare to head back on their way. Yi came out of hiding and realized that Shin didn't look back at Ada because we would have cried, as his eyes were already red. After continuing their journey, both Shin and Yi headed back to their next destination, riding on his dragon. During their journey, Yi was reminded of the entire scenario between Shin and Ada. She realized that Shin cherished his relationships a lot, which made her like Shin even more. She also realized that everyone had their own worlds and purposes. However, her only purpose in life was to be alongside Shin. The world's hierarchy was divided into 3 parts. The 9 Dragon Masters were at the top of it, warriors like Shin were in the middle, while people like Ada, who were barely managing to survive, were at the bottom of the pyramid. Shin had to become stronger and reach the level of 9 Dragon Master in order to succeed in his mission. He didn't want to end up like his past life. Therefore, he set a journey to accomplish his goal. In order to get stronger, he decided to befriend 3 of the 9 Dragon Masters, including Yi, Mingxuan, and Yang Qing. He knew that making 3 of them his allies, he would become the happiest and strongest person in the world. He was thrilled by the thought of spending his entire life with Yi, traveling around the place they wanted to go, and doing things they wanted to do. As his first goal was to become friends with Yang Qing and Mingxuan, he continued his journey to reach the destination, where Yang Qing was going to be sold, after being abandoned by the demon tribe. Shin already knew where he was going to be auctioned, therefore he headed straight there. However, to be able to win in the auction, he made good trades along the way to make some money. As both Shin and Yi were riding Shin's Jade Dragon, they managed to get there a few days before. That place was known as Piao Miao City, one of the 3 world's greatest trade centers. It was a beautiful city, built on the mountain even above beautiful white clouds. After reaching there, both Shin and Yi were flabbergasted by the view of the city. Yi was extremely joyful just by the thought of living there for some time. However, Shin told her that they weren't there just to enjoy themselves, but for important work. He said that they were there to attend arguably the world's greatest auction. Yi was pleased even more as she thought that they were going to buy some beautiful diamonds and treasures. Seeing her happiness, Shin refrained from telling her the truth, as he didn't know what type of reaction she would have. On their way to the hotel, they visited the summit, where the auction was going to be held. It was so high that even standing on toe tips seemed to make a height difference. However, when they reached the hotel, Yi immediately fell asleep, while Shin was devising strategies to buy Yan Qing by any means. Next morning, they went to the auction center and waited for the auction to begin. Yi saw that Shin was deeply thinking about something. She knew that he was thinking about the possible ways to buy some important treasures. After waiting for some time, the auctioneer stood in front of the audience and said that the auction was going to start. Everyone in the arena was eagerly waiting for the treasures to be shown. The auctioneer started by showing the full, pristine suit of the royal family. Then he showed one of the 10 most powerful blades, the Dragon Frost Blade. Following that, he showed a dragon egg, which was going to hatch in a few days and had an extremely powerful iron dragon in it. Yi saw that Shin didn't respond to any of the items. She asked him whether he found something interesting or not. Shin replied that the item he was waiting for wasn't introduced yet. Yi became even more curious by his answer, and waited to see which item had Shin's interest. After showing some of the powerful and expensive treasures to the audience, the auctioneer addressed them to pay attention to him, as he was going to introduce them with the main attraction of the auction. The curtains fell down, and 100 beautiful girls were standing behind it. The girls whose beauty was out of the world. Even Yi was stunned by their unmatched beauty. However, the excitement vanished, as Shin asked the auctioneer to introduce the girls by their names. Yi was sure of it that Shin was after the girls from the beginning. She became depressed but didn't stop Shin and told him that it was okay if he wanted to buy a girl for himself. Shin nervously told her that she misunderstood the situation, as he wasn't going to replace her and was actually after a girl named Yan Qing specifically. While both of them were talking to each other, the auctioneer suddenly called forth the flower of the demon tribe. The most beautiful girl, even more beautiful than the other demon tribe's girls, Yan Qing. Everyone in the arena was flattered by her unparalleled beauty. She was the main attention of the crowd, the apple of everyone's eyes. After introducing her to the crowd, the auctioneer was going to start the auction, until some impatient guy bid 500k gold on her. Everyone was shocked by the sudden massive bid, but even more shocking was that the auctioneer told the man to calm down, as the starting bid was 1,000,000 gold. This condition made the whole arena go silent. However, when no one was expecting any bid anytime soon, Jin shouted to bid 10 million gold coins right away. The crowd surrounding him almost immediately cleared the way and put him under a spotlight. This sudden surge of bids was never seen before. Even the auctioneer was shocked by his bid and kept silent for a few seconds, as he assumed that nobody was able to compete against Jin's bid. However, a mysterious man within the crowd raised his hand and increased the bid to 14 million gold coins. The audience became even more curious to find out who was going to win the bidding competition between Shin and the man. Everyone's attention was now on Shin, and as usual, he didn't waste any more time and raised the bid to 20 million gold coins. The competing man became furious and shocked at the same time, but he didn't want to lose pride, therefore. He decided to bid even higher. But before the man had the chance to say something, Shin bid even higher to 40 million gold coins. The man was shaken by Shin's raise in the bid, and as a result, he forfeited. Upon no response from anyone else, the auctioneer auctioned Yan Qing to Shin. Shin screamed cause of happiness from the bottom of his heart, as he had finally completed one of his main objectives, and went backstage to meet with Yan Qing. While Shin was talking with Yan Qing, Yi saw extreme happiness on his face. She was heartbroken by the fact that Shin spent so much gold just to buy one girl. She thought that Yan Qing must be very precious to him. However, she didn't complain, as she didn't consider complaining as her right. On the other hand, when Shin met Yan, he asked her whether she had any clothes, as she was wearing ordinary and cheap clothes. She replied that her other dresses were taken back from the demon tribe. It was expected, as the people of the demon tribe were very clingy. He asked her to take off her current dress and change into one of Yi's dresses. She addressed him by calling the master and agreed to obey his order. Shin felt weird about her calling him master, so he told her not to call him master. After ending the conversation with Yan, he looked back and saw Yi standing nearby. She suddenly turned around to hide her red eyes. However, Shin noticed it and told her not to hide and told him her concerns. As she was hesitant to talk, Shin consoled her and also told her to give Yan some clothes to wear. Yi did what he said and gave her a dress. Although she didn't want to admit it, still Yan seemed very beautiful to her wearing her dress. Yan thanked Yi as she gave her a dress to wear, and also addressed her as mistress. Yi was flattered by Yan calling her mistress because she thought Yan had accepted her relationship with Shin. Yi was pleased by Yan's sense of gratitude and instantly became friends with her. Shin was also glad that Yi accepted her, but at the same time, he was curious about her personality, as she handled Yi so easily. He couldn't figure out her personality by looking at her, as body language and her eyes didn't portray anything. However, Yi and Yan decided to go shopping and also told their plans to Shin, which he gladly accepted. On their way to the shopping mall, all three of them were getting along very well. When they reached the shopping mall, Yi was showing around Yan, the entire shopping mall. Shin noticed that the bonding between them became stronger and stronger. He knew that it was just because of Yan's ability to easily interact with others. It was already expected from a girl trained by a demon tribe. The sole purpose of her being so considerate toward others wasn't for the other's sake, but herself. She was being polite and obedient to save her own skin. Although Shin knew much about her cause of his past life experience, yet he didn't know what secrets she was hiding. However, he ignored the fact and tried to blend in between Yi and Yan by telling Yi to find something for Yan too, instead of Yan always finding items for her. Yan thanked him for being so considerate, but Shin patted her shoulder and told her not to be formal around them anymore because they were all friends. Then Shin and Yi left to find something for her, while she was standing there speechless and wondering why Shin was so friendly to her. The fact that he didn't have a master-servant relationship, even one, warmed her heart. After some time, both of them came back, and Yi showed Yam a gift she bought for her. It was a beautiful peacock-style sachet. After receiving the gift, Yan's emotions grew even stronger to see that she had such a respectful master. She wondered that it may be the cause of the luck of deeds she did in her past life. However, she would treasure it dearly. In the following 2 months, Shin and his gang hurried toward the Dragon Horse Battle School's location, which was in the City of Mountains and Sea. But before going there, he stopped at a town near it, called the Town of Mountains and Water. Yi asked Shin why they stopped in such an area. He replied that he was here to meet with an important person named Ming Xuan. It was the hometown of the most dazzling dragon peacock Ming Xuan. Shin was a huge diehard fan of Ming in his past life. Therefore, he knew the exact place where he lived. Although in his past life, he once came to that area, but he was younger than his current age, and the houses also looked rough and pathetic. However, this time the houses looked different and were renovated. Still, he was able to find Ming House as he was a huge fan of his. The reason for him being excited to meet Ming was that he was very inspired by his success and hard work in his past life. Although Ming was a below-average fighter at his current age, still he was going to become the third great dragon master in the next 10 years. He became such a powerful and ruthless dragon master that even the greatest among dragon masters had to be weary of him. He could easily conquer any empire and became the emperor if he wanted to. The only most precious and dear thing to him was his elder sister. He could have gone to any extent to protect her. His sense of protectiveness for her only family member was so great that some people even called him Siskan. After covering some distance, they finally arrived at Ming's house. However, by seeing the sights of it, they all expected that no one could live there. Yi asked Shin whether it was the right place. Although Shin didn't expect Ming's house to be so horrible, still he was sure that it was his house, as he visited it in his past life. While they were standing there deciding whether to go in or not, somebody from behind called them out. It was Ming's elder sister. By judging her looks, Shin figured out that the conditions must be very miserable to live there. Ming's sister was covered in dirt, holding a bag of leftover vegetables. She asked them who they were and what they wanted from her house, as she mistook them as the thieves. To cool down the tense situation, Shin initiated a conversation by asking her whether she was Ming's elder sister. On the contrary, she became even more stressed and shouted at him to tell her what they did to Ming. Shin figured out that the situation was escalating. Therefore, he told her that they were Ming's classmates. Her mood suddenly changed, and she lowered her guard almost immediately. Shin was convinced by her sudden change of mood that she was adorable and a natural airhead. She invited them to her house and offered them dinner. They all sat on the table while she was preparing the meal. Yi also went to help her prepare the food. While Ming's sister was preparing the dinner, Shin asked her whether Ming was going to come home. She replied that Ming usually stayed 2 hours after school to do training in the woods. She said that Ming was a stubborn but hard-working boy, just like his father. Therefore, she expected him to become an important and valuable person. Shin was flustered by her delicacy and such strong sense of intimacy. He also wished to have a sister like her, as it would have made a great impact on his personality. By seeing her fragile hands cleaning the leftover vegetables cleanly, he guessed that they were having a tough time. He asked her whether she was having a tough time providing food and Ming's school fees. She said that although they weren't living the ideal life, it was still livable, and therefore she was thankful for it. She said that as long as Ming wanted to do something, she would always support him and would be at his side. Both Shin and Yi were flattered by her words and personality, and even to be like her. Suddenly the door slammed and a young boy appeared. It was none other than Ming himself. Without any further ado, he immediately asked Shin what they were doing in his house. As expected, Shin totally unheard Ming's words, as he was seeing his idol for the first time in real life. While he was cherishing the sight of seeing his idol, Ming already became angry and warned Shin to tell him who they were or he was going to get serious. Shin didn't expect such behavior, but before he could say anything, Ming's sister scolded Ming and told him to not talk so impolitely to the classmates. He obediently nodded his head and obeyed her orders without complaining. Shin came close to him and told him that they weren't bad guys, and if they wanted to harm them, they would have done it way before. Ming remained silent and walked over to the dinner table. My older sister brought the food to the table and asked them to eat. All of the kids were very surprised by the looks of the dishes, as they were both visually and also smelling delicious. Shin even told her that it was a miracle that she made such delicious food with some crap vegetables. Although it was a compliment, she felt dejected and promised to make food with better ingredients. Shin quickly apologized and told her that he didn't mean it that way. However, elder sister laughed and said that she was just joking around. After having the dinner, my elder sister left for the market to sell vegetables, as it was their only way of earning. All of the kids waved to her and wished her good luck. Just after she left, Ming's mood immediately changed back and threatened Shin to tell him his actual motives. Shin had no choice left but to tell him the truth. Therefore, he asked him to go out for a while with him, so he could tell him everything. Shin told Yi and Yan to stay at the house and wait for them. However, both of them followed Shin and Ming to spy on them. After reaching the riverbank, Shin told Ming that he wasn't there for her sister or to harm them. He said that his actual motive behind coming there was to meet him and give him an offer. Ming became curious and asked Shin to go on and tell him about the offer. As a result, Shin offered to join him and follow him throughout his journey. Ming refused immediately and told him that he would never abandon her sister and become a slave of an 8-year-old kid for money. Shin replied that he misunderstood him and that he didn't want him to be his slave but a true companion. Ming was shocked by his offer and asked him why he wanted a useless and pathetic warrior to be his companion. Shin said that he knew that he was going to become a great dragon master because of his hard work and love for success. Shin brought forward his fist and told him that he would never abandon him or betray him, as he was a true brother and a companion to him. After hearing Shin's words, Ming became emotional, as he had always been bullied before, and no one thought of him as a companion. Therefore, he first bumped Shin and agreed to be his eternal companion until he betrayed and cheated him. Yi and Yan were always watching the entire scene between both of them. The aura of that scenario was so pure that both Yi and Yan were flabbergasted by the sight of it. Even Yan's nose bled out because of it. Shin went back to the house and joyously shouted that they were going shopping and told Yi and Yan that they could buy anything. Yi jumped off the chair because of happiness. However, Shin saw that Yan's nose was stuffed. He asked her whether she had a nosebleed because of the rise in internal temperature. Yi immediately changed the subject and told him to go to the market. On the other side, Ming was running toward her sister's stall to tell her that he had finally made a companion, the first time in his life. He was very happy and wanted to tell her the good news as soon as possible. However, at the market where my elder sister was selling her vegetables, a group of 7 people came by to her stall. She thought that they were customers and were interested in buying vegetables. She told the leader of the group that vegetables were fresh and she would also give them some discount. However, those guys weren't there to buy some vegetables. Their boss kicked the vegetables rack and everything along with my elder sister fell onto the ground. When she asked him the reason for doing all that, he replied that he did that because she didn't pay rental fees for the stall. She said that she had already paid the rent to the guy, who was standing behind him. He asked his subordinate whether she paid her rent. The subordinate lied that she didn't pay a penny for 2 years, as it was all pre-planned. She told the boss that his subordinate was lying, and she wasn't even there for 2 years. However, he didn't listen to anything she said and slapped her even harder. Tears broke down through her eyes. The boss told his subordinate to seize her stall and also apprehend her. When the subordinate held her by her hand, suddenly someone barged in and shouted at them to leave her alone. It was Ming, who came just in time. One of the guys tackled him and threw him away. The elder sister shouted to Ming to go back to safety. However, Ming wasn't ready to give up yet. He rushed again to save her sister from the bad guys, but still was caught and was beaten badly. Her sister shouted to leave her brother alone. When the boss heard that Ming was her brother, he ordered his subordinate to beat him even more. Seeing her brother getting beaten up, she told the boss that she would go with him, but just stop beating her brother. He was pleased by her answer and told his subordinate to stop. Ming was in a bad condition with bruises all over his body, but still he didn't stop and bit the subordinate's hand and ran toward her sister. Unfortunately, he was caught again, and this time due to biting a subordinate's hand, he was going to be killed. Before the bad guy could kill Ming, a flying axe cut off his hand. Everyone was shocked, and the boss was wondering who had the audacity to oppose him. The flying axe belonged to Jin. He and his friends came to the market, and when they saw the chaos, they went to find out what was happening. When the boss saw that the axe belonged to a small kid, he was amazed and furious at the same time. He knew that someone who could attack a silver grade 5 warrior would have something up his sleeve, but his pride couldn't afford to withdraw from such intrusion. He told Shin that he was the member of town's most powerful gang, known as Fierce Dragon Gang, and he would let his intrusion pass by if he handed over the 3 girls, e.g. Yi, Yan, and elder sister. Shin became even more angry and furious and told him to face him like a man. Upon hearing that, the boss became mad and told his other men to capture him. He told Shin that he would cripple down his body and give him a slow and painful death, and before his last breaths, he would hurt the girls in front of his eyes. Shin furiously screamed that he would annihilate his entire existence if he even touched them. 2 of the men rushed toward Shin. Shin threw his axes and split them into halves within a blink of an eye. By seeing his 2 silver grade 5 men killed in an instant, Grizzles went down Boss's body. Shin told him that he could feel the sense of fear within him, and if he didn't stop, then he would have no choice but to kill him. The boss became angrier as he was being humiliated by an 8-year-old kid. He ordered the rest of the 4 men to bring Shin down. However, that didn't work, as Shin took out 4 more axes out of his belt and threw them toward the men. As expected, the axes sliced through their bodies and killed them instantly. The only man left was the boss. After seeing a ray of hope, the crowd also hooted for him and told him not to spare the boss's life, as he tortured them a lot. A little girl from the crowd cried out loud that he killed her parents for no reason in front of her. The other guy said that he tortured and killed his wife, and the lists went on. The boss threatened everyone angrily that the fierce dragon gang would kill every single one of them if they even laid a hand on him. However, Shin and everybody else weren't going to listen to his crap anymore. Shin walked toward him slowly and asked him what he said before the fight began. He asked him whether he was going to cripple his bodies into pieces or not, and also wasn't he going to hurt his friend right in front of him. That slow approach and Jin's cold-hearted words made him lose his mind. He thought that he couldn't be a human but a demon. He once again threatened all of them and asked them to back down before the fierce dragon gang arrived. But Shin didn't listen to any of his words and immediately sliced him from head to toe, slicing him into equal parts. Although it seemed unfair for him to kill him so quickly, as Shin wanted to torture him and make him feel the same pain he gave to others, he didn't want to look at his face for another second, so he killed him instantly. Everyone surrounded Shin and praised him for his bravery. The little girls whose parents were killed, the guy whose innocent wife was tortured and killed, and all the other victims were finally satisfied, as justice was served to them. Ming and his sister were in awe after seeing his power, and were convinced that he wasn't an ordinary child. However, if it wasn't for the 7 flying axes, which were given to him as a gift from Yi, the situation would have been hard to handle for him. Through the power of those crystal-grade axes, he was able to defeat 7 white silver tier men. After chatting for some time with the people, they told him to get out of the town as soon as possible, because the fierce dragon gang was definitely going to chase them down. He did what they asked him to do. He, along with his other friends, went back to Ming's house. At his house, Ming's sister was crying and depressed because she considered herself guilty of bringing such harsh situations on her brother. Ming consoled her sister that she had always been a good sister, and he would never be angry with her. He told her that Shin would have a plan to get away from this situation. When Shin saw that although Ming had no clue how they would get out of this situation, still he had faith in Shin. Shin thought that he should at least give them a consoling speech to ease them a bit. He said that they shouldn't get worried because he had everything under his control. Instead of getting her hopes high, she became frustrated even more and said what would an 8-year-old kid possibly do to help them. However, Shin told them to just follow him for this one time. Shin then started to execute his plan. He told Yi to do surveillance by her blink butterfly splitting ability, while he was devising strategies to fool the gatekeepers of the main entrance of the town. Again, when the elder sister saw that Shin was thinking of strategies right at the moment, she became depressed and complained again. Ming told her to have faith in him because he had proven himself as a powerful and keen person. As expected, her mood changed completely after recalling the fight scene and even cheered for Jin. Everyone was surprised by her sudden mode shift. On the other hand, Yi detected that one of her detective butterflies was destroyed by a group of 100 people who were marching toward Ming's house, and among them was the crystal-grade Dragon Master too. She told the bad news to everyone. Shin was shocked that they had been discovered so soon. My older sister asked Ming what the crystal grade meant. He replied that it was a power level even higher than bronze, silver, and gold, and they were just like ants compared to that power level. She became nervous again and asked him to forgive her, and that in the next life she would take good care of him. Ming told her to calm down, as it was too early to tell him her last words. Shin tried to ease up everyone, so he came up with a plan that they would split into 2 groups and breach the door silently. He also warned them that they would have only one chance, so they must do their best. Everyone agreed and proceeded according to his plan. They all packed up and went outside the house to discuss the strategy. Shin told everyone his plan and their parts of work. First, he told Yi that she would stay behind in the hiding, while all 4 of them proceed toward the gate. When the first group reached the gate, then he would give her a signal to summon her sand dragon. The dragon would protect them until they reached the other side of the gate. After one group reaches the gate, then she would summon her blink dragon to come closer to the gate. After that, Shin would summon his jade blue dragon and pick her up and leave the town with speed. The entire plan looked secure and foolproof. Shin also told Yi to be careful, as she was doing most of the work. However, suddenly the elder sister panicked and said that she forgot her parents' box back in the house. She was very nervous, as it was the only thing they had, which belonged to their parents. Fortunately, Ming calmed her down and told her that he took the box before leaving the house. He handed over the box to her. She was extremely glad to see the box in good condition. She thanked him and promised to be more careful next time. On the other hand, the fierce dragon gang arrived at the market to witness the chaos caused by Shin. When the leader of the gang, who was also an amethyst grade master, saw the destruction and mass murder of his men caused by a mere 8-year-old kid, he became curious about Shin. He never expected a young kid to slice up 7 of his men so easily. Although he was also mad at the group leader of those 7 men because he was committing every type of crime, still he didn't want a stranger to come to his town and kill his men. Therefore, he ordered his men capture Shin and his friends. When the box mystery was solved, Shin and others went closer to the entrance gate as planned, while Yi was telepathically connected with Shin to act according to his signals. Although 100 men guarding the gate was a big problem, Shin and others made a run for it. Initially, when one of the men saw them coming toward them, he addressed them to return to their homes as the city was at high alert. They unheard the warning and went straight toward the gate. When the gatekeepers saw them heading towards the gate, they immediately attacked them with arrows. While the arrows were heading towards them, Shin telepathically told Yi to summon her sand dragon and use sand dust tornado. She obeyed the order and told his dragon to use sand dust tornado without harming Shin and the others. The high-speed tornado changed the arrow's trajectory and saved Shin and others from getting hit. Unfortunately, the arrows were in excessive numbers, therefore, Shin told his friends to enter the center of the tornado. They were a bit hesitant at first because the tornado was very powerful and dangerous. However, they believed Shin and obeyed his orders. When they entered the center of the tornado, they expected a high force of air. On the contrary, the aura of the tornado was calm and felt like Yi was holding them in her palms gently. They were surprised by such unexpected gentleness and continued to pass through the gate. When they passed through the gate, Jin ordered Yi to summon her blink butterfly and come closer to the gate so that he could pick her. She did as she was told and rode her butterfly dragon to come near the gate. However, when she was almost near her pickup point, she felt a strong bloodthirst in the air due to her telepathic abilities. It was so terrifying that she froze in her place for a while. The sense of bloodthirst was caused by the leader of the gang. When Shin saw him, he figured out that he was extremely powerful. He summoned his jade dragon and flew into the sky along with his other friends to bring them to safety, while Yi was holding the leader back through her sand dragon. She used her sand tornado to attack him. Although he was in the center of the tornado, still it didn't even scratch him. The Amethyst Master used a single blow to dissipate the entire hurricane in an instant. Everyone was shocked to see that because no one till then was able to attack the sand dragon in its sand state. The leader knew that it wasn't just a coincidence that a wild dragon appeared out of nowhere. He knew that someone was controlling it, therefore, without dragging the battle for too long, he uses his powerful technique with just using one hand to completely annihilate the sand dragon's existence. When Yi saw that her dragon was entirely eliminated in front of her eyes, she became unconscious and fell off her butterfly dragon. When Shin saw her falling down from her dragon, he rushed toward her with his dragon's full speed and caught her in midair. There weren't any bruises on her body, yet still she fell unconscious. When Shin caught her, he saw that the Amethyst Master was calling him to face him directly. By feeling an extreme killing intent in his eyes, Shin immediately flew towards the cloud because he knew that the power difference was too high. Unfortunately, it wasn't such a big deal for the man to catch him. He only extended his hand, and Shin already felt that something was behind him. It felt so close that he was convinced that he was going to die. However, he suddenly felt that someone was patting his head. It was that man, who used telepathy to connect with Shin. He told him that he wouldn't kill him and spare his life, but he should feel the gap between their power levels, and know that he was only alive because he wanted him to be. So next time he visits another place, he shouldn't act reckless. Shin didn't understand at the moment what the man was trying to say, but he was glad that they made it out alive. However, when they regrouped with others, Shin was frustrated and crying because he considered himself guilty of putting Yi's life at danger. Ming and others apologized to him because they were of no use. But he told them not to apologize because only if he had trained more and became stronger, then nothing like that would ever have happened. They all consoled him, and Yan told him that Yi was all right, and he shouldn't be worried. As a girl trained by a demon tribe, she knew how to kill, but also how to make someone feel better. Shin thanked her for her words. In the meantime, Yi regained consciousness and opened her eyes. Everyone was happy to see her finally wake up. Shin hugged her tightly and apologized for putting her life in danger. She told Shin not to apologize, as it wasn't his fault. Shin then asked her how she lost consciousness without getting hit by an attack. She replied that because her soul was connected with her dragon's soul, therefore when her dragon was eliminated, she also received a great shock. Shin was terrified by hearing the soul connection's limitations. Yi was feeling unhappy as the dragon which she and Shin caught together was eliminated. Although the dragon was going to die permanently, it still had to take a long time to recover. To cheer up her mood, Shin told her that they would hunt again and find a much stronger dragon for her. They all headed back to Xianhai City, where Shin bought a house. At night, all of them were sleeping peacefully after a tiresome day. However, Shin was sitting in his room in the dark, having thought about the incidents that happened that day, while Yi was sleeping soundly. He was feeling extremely pathetic because he knew that if the fierce gang's leader didn't let them go away, then they would have been dead. He was terrified by the thought of not protecting his friends. He didn't want to go back to the same condition as his past lives. He had to become even more stronger to keep up with others and protect his dear ones. In order to get stronger, he had to go to the Dragon Academy along Yi, Yan, and Ming, while elder sister would take care of food and cleaning. Their current house was also the safest place for them, as the town was always under continuous surveillance by 3 crystal-grade masters. He also remembered that in his past life, Yan suddenly summoned her first dragon at her current age, yet it was always a mystery. While he was having thoughts, Yi suddenly woke up and asked him whether everything was all right. He replied that he was thinking about throwing a surprise birthday party for Yan, as the next day was her birthday. Yi was thrilled by the idea and agreed with him. The next day, Yan was standing in the lawn thinking about her motives and past life. Shin was finding her all around the house, and then he saw her in the lawn, so he went to talk to her. He asked her whether she wanted to give the entrance exam for the Dragon Academy after 6 months. She replied that she would do anything he wanted her to do. Shin was disappointed by her answer and said that although he bought her at the auction, still he had no intention to keep her as a slave but as a companion, and if he had any ulterior motives, then he wouldn't have gone so far for it. His answer shocked her as she never expected that her master would call her a companion. He also asked her whether she was having problems summoning her dragon, as she was already 10 years old. He consoled her not to rush things up and gradually headed towards success, and that he had faith in her that she would be able to summon her own dragon one day. And with the last words, Shin headed back inside. Yan was amazed by Shin's considerate behavior and had a small ray of hope that maybe the world wasn't as bad as she thought. However, she cleared her mind of these thoughts and convinced herself that she was nothing but servant, and she shouldn't have desires such as a normal human being. Suddenly, Yi showed up and tried to scare Yan from behind, and she succeeded in her plan. However, it wasn't her main objective to be there. She asked Yan to follow her to the room, as she wanted to show her something. Yan agreed and followed her to the room. When she entered the room, she saw that the room was decorated and there was a big birthday cake on the table with everyone standing nearby. She thought that it must be someone's birthday, that's why everyone arranged a surprise party. After seeing the sights of it, she also wished to have her own birthday party, as on the same day was her birthday too. Little she knew, the surprise birthday party was for none other but her. She was surprised when everyone wished her a happy birthday. She could never have thought that someone would celebrate her birthday. She didn't believe it for a moment, but when she saw her name on the cake, she was convinced that all of them put so much effort just for her. Everyone wished her and also consoled her that if she was facing any difficulties in her life, then she could discuss it with them as they were friends for eternity. For the first time in life, she smiled with the bottom of her heart and thanked everyone. They all celebrated her birthday and also gave her some gifts. After the party, while Shin was roaming around the lawn to have some fresh air, Yan came to him hesitantly. When Shin saw her, he asked her whether she wanted something. She said that she was very grateful to all of them for celebrating her birthday. He smiled and told her not to worry about such things because it's what companions do for each other. She was glad to hear that. However, she told her that she also wanted to tell him a secret, which she had been hiding from them. Shin became curious and asked her what she wanted to say. She opened her dress button and unhid a seal. It was a hidden seal concealing the dragon. She told him that she already had summoned her dragon at the age of 8, but she hid it from the demon clan so that they could abandon her. Shin was surprised by what she said and asked for more details about why wanted to be abandoned by her own tribe. She replied that if the demon clan had found out that she was able to summon a dragon, then they would have made her an assassin. Therefore, in order to save her humanity, she concealed her dragon and hid it through a spell. She was ashamed of facing Shin and others as she hid the truth from them. Although the news was a bit of shock to him, still Shin consoled her and said that he didn't care about her past but her present. He thanked her for trusting him and said that he was looking forward to seeing her dragon. She was relieved by Shin's words and promised him to work hard to power up her dragon. Shin and Yi then left for dragon hunt. Shin told Yi that he wanted to catch an emperor sword dragon for her. Therefore, they went to the Sword Dragon Mountain, which was the home of thousands of sword dragons. It was also called the training ground of 9 dragon masters, as the dragon masters often came there to train themselves. As the name suggests, the Emperor's sword dragon looked like a sword and was more powerful than the sand dragon, as it had excellent offensive and defensive abilities. Therefore, it was an impressive adversary to fight a worthy battle. Shin told Yi that their primary target would be the rankless sword dragon, because capturing a higher grade could cost them their lives. He told her to stay back, while he infiltrated the sword dragon's lair and lured them to follow him out. She acted accordingly and waited outside while he slowly entered the cave riding his dragon. He was moving at a slow pace so that he could lure only one of the dragons into his trap. However, to his surprise, hundreds of rankless sword dragons started to chase him right after he reached the middle of the cave. He flew at full speed to avoid getting hit by its attacks. But he didn't know that the sword dragons were more dangerous than he thought. The sword dragon caught up with him and stroked him with their attacks. He was flying at full speed, yet still the sword dragons were keeping up with him. He had 80% of energy left for flying at full speed, but the entrance of the cave was still pretty far away. Sword's dragons were relentless and attacked continuously and injured him very badly within a few attacks. He was then left with 50% of flying energy. But the sword dragon became even more clingy and attacked twice the speed. Shin again received some critical blows, but he continued to fly straight. He knew that if he stopped even for a moment, then he would die immediately. He continued to fly until 10% of energy was left. The entrance was close enough, therefore, he used all his energy to save himself and lure at least one sword dragon into his trap after dealing so much trouble. He wanted to give Yi the best dragon he could, so he didn't give up and continued to fly faster than before. However, suddenly a much faster sword dragon caught him off guard and stroked him down. Shin got out of that situation, but Yi didn't succeed in capturing the sword dragon in her first try, which made her depressed. Shin told her not to give up and try again after he regained his energy. However, Yi told him that she didn't want to capture the sword dragon anymore, because it was injuring him too much, and that they should go after another sand dragon. Shin refused, and said that he was trying his best to capture the sword dragon because it was befitting for his princess. He told her that to get stronger she would need an equally powerful dragon, so capturing the sword dragon would help her a lot in future battles. He then asked her whether she was confident. She nodded positively, but in her heart she knew that she wasn't confident because the sword dragon wasn't like sand dragon. It simply denied her kind and sincere words. Shin told her that whether she was confident or not, he would always be by her side and support her. These words stroked her heart, and then she decided that she would capture the sword dragon no matter what, in order to protect Shin from the hardships and injuries which he was having because of him. Therefore, they tried again and again to capture the dragon. It had been over a week and they didn't succeed even one time to make a connection with the sword dragon. Shin's body was completely covered with bandages by then. He looked like a 1,000-year-old mummy because of it. But he didn't stop and went into the cave again and again to give Yi a chance to capture the dragon. Every time he went inside, her heart ached to the point that even breathing was painful to her because of the injuries he would have after returning. She lost her hope long ago, but due to Shin's desire for capturing the dragon, she tried again and again. Her heart was shattered into pieces because she blamed herself for Shin's bruises and injuries. She couldn't take it anymore. Her desire to befriend the sword dragon and make a soul connection with it vanished. The only thing she wanted was to capture the sword by force brutally. She asked Shin one last time to lure a dragon for her. Shin did as asked, and lured one dragon again. This time her approach was changed. Shin could feel the power surge in the atmosphere. Her eyes turned red and cold. When she finally had a chance to make a connection, instead of a warm and kind approach, she threatened the sword dragon to crush its soul if it didn't obey her orders. To be able to protect Shin from further injuries and bruises, she decided to crush everyone who would come in her way. Therefore, she overwhelmed the sword dragon by threatening its existence and said that she was its queen and willing or not, it had to obey her. Shin felt that the power surge was gradually decreasing. He wondered that maybe she failed. That's why the soul power was decreasing. However, when he asked her the reason, she jumped at him with joy and hugged him tightly while screaming that she finally succeeded and that he didn't have to go through all that pain again. He was very happy for her as it was the first time she used that kind of power. He was glad that all the pain he went through didn't go to waste, however. His body was still shaking because of the pain. While he was lost in his own world of thoughts, Yi called him and said that the soul connection she made with the sword dragon was different from that of sand dragons. She told him that the sword dragon was moving according to her thoughts, instead of her giving it order, like it was an extension of her body. Shin was shocked when he heard her words because, as he expected, it wasn't just a simple soul connection, it was soul enslavement. He was curious because soul enslavement was Yi's future ability, but somehow she achieved it before the time. When she asked her about what caused this sudden technique change, she replied that it was because she wanted to become strong and wanted to protect him. Shin figured out that because her desire to protect him was so great, she overcame her limitations and shattered through her boundaries. After spending several months in training, they rushed back to their house 2 months before the entrance exams. Everyone finally reunited with each other. Elder sister immediately handed over 84 million S-gold coins, bills, and accounting papers. All of them were surprised by the huge amount she made in just a few months. She was truly a genius when it came to business matters. Shin handed over the accounting papers to Yi and said to look after his accounting work, as a cutie pie wife would do. She was embarrassed by Shin calling her wife and told him not to say that out loud. However, even after saying that, she was trying her very best to keep up Shin's expectations and act like a good wife. When she finished her work, she told Shin that everything was all right and also gave 1 million gold bill. He refused to take it and asked what he would do with it. She told him that it's necessary for a man to have money in his pocket. Therefore, he accepted the money, but he also asked for 2 more 1 million gold bills. After taking another 2 million gold bills, he went to Ming and gave one to him. He refused at first, but when he told him what Yi said, then he accepted it. Shin then went to Yan and also gave her 1 million gold bill. She had never seen that much money in her entire life. Therefore, she hesitated to take the money. However, she accepted it when Shin told her that every girl has a desire to get something they consider beautiful, so she should take the money and buy anything she likes. After giving money to both of his companions, Yi asked him why he didn't give money to elder sister. He replied that it would be impolite for him to give her money, as she was older than him. Instead, he decided to give her permission to use the 10th of the assets to use freely as wants want, as she wants the caretaker of the family. After the reunion, all of them went outside to showcase their dragons, which they had trained during past few months. Shin went first and summoned his jade blue ocean dragon. Then Yi summoned her blink butterfly. Now it was time for either Ming or Yan to show their dragons for the first time. Ming was feeling shy about his dragon, as he thought his dragon was weak. Therefore, he asked Yan to go first. However, she denied immediately. Therefore, she summoned his dragon anyway. Although it was a lower grade dragon, still it was one of the coolest and handsome dragon they had ever seen. At last, Yan summoned her own spider dragon. It was a truly fascinating beast with an astonishing outer covering design. All of them were in awe when they saw her dragon, because no one was expecting such a beautiful dragon by her side. In order to know each other better, they told each other their dragon's abilities and hidden skills. First, Jin started with his dragon. His dragon was bronze level T dragon. It was the fastest dragon among them. At its current stage, it had only acid and hidden claw abilities. The hidden claw ability could secretly hit the enemy and appear out of nowhere when needed, and as it was a secret ability, it had to be kept a secret. Although it was the fastest, but its attack power was just like other average dragons. Next, Yi told everyone her dragon abilities. Her dragon was specialized in coordinating the team. Its speed was second to Shin's dragon. It was not an offensive type dragon, therefore. It was pretty useless in head-on battles. Next was Ming's turn. His dragon was also nearly as fast as Yi's dragon and was specialized in dodging. It wasn't an offensive type at that stage. And at last was Yan. Her dragon was the slowest among all of them. However, its main ability was to create exact clones for its original body. The clones were extremely similar that it was nearly impossible for someone to find the real one, and as the clones had the ability to act on their own, it also made it complicated to find out real one. This ability was coping with its slow speed's weakness. As a result, their team was comprised of dodging and running off dragons. However, Shin told everyone that the dragon with most powerful offensive powers was Yan's. Everyone was curious to find out what he meant by that. He told everyone that it could spit the poisonous web, a fast-ranged attack which could make the enemy immobile. Then she would pull the enemy behind and pulverize it in an instant by lightning speed attacks. In a few days, the entrance exam is going to be held. Shin, Yi, and Yan were going to attend beginners classes, while Ming was going to attend the intermediate classes. Although they were separated from each other, they promised that they would train and fight together and become stronger. The Dragon Battle Academy was on the most prestigious schools in the whole world. It gained its popularity because most of the 9 Dragon Masters were graduated from here. It was the school which guaranteed to make him the true genius Dragon Master. Mist of the 9 Dragon Master would come here and to give special lectures to the students. Yi was also among them during Shin's past life. It was a school made for true geniuses because the acceptance rate in entrance exams was only 1%. There were a total of 10 halls where the exams were held, and each hall had the capacity of 30,000 people, which means that in total, 300,000 students were going to enroll in the entrance exam. Shin, Yi, and Yan were roaming around the school to see the students who had enrolled for the entrance exams. None of them seemed weaker to Shin. As the acceptance rate was extremely low, Shin asked Yi and Yan to try their best. However, Yi was extremely nervous and stressed out by the pressure. She was afraid of getting rejected and left behind. When Yan saw her being nervous, she told her that she would kill everyone until she was accepted. Shin and Yi immediately tried to calm her down and told her that there was no need for it. Yan was truly a terrifying girl. While they were chatting, a dragon crashed into the ground. It was a blazing tiger dragon with a man riding it. He doesn't seem like a student. As expected, when someone asked him who he was, he replied that he was their examiner for the test and also a teacher at school. He laughed at everyone and said that no one intrigued him so far, and that another year a bunch of useless brats came to try their luck. He told everyone that in order to test their temperature tolerance, he would increase the hall temperature, and would be increasing until the strength was reduced to 1,000. Everyone was shocked that he was going to eliminate 29K participants from the beginning. The students asked for preparation time. He flew into the air and said that they had 2 seconds to prepare. After 2 seconds, he increased the area's temperature abruptly and was increasing further. Everyone was panicked and worried from the heat, however. It didn't bother Shin, as in his past life, he was a fire dragon user, therefore, that heat didn't even warm him up. The examiner increased the temperature of the area by emitting extreme heat and light through his dragon, just a mini sun in the sky. Even though he was way high in the sky, the temperature easily reached 70 degrees. Students gradually started to forfeit and left the hall. Many of them fainted and were disqualified because of it. When the temperature was at maximum, Shin told Yi and Yan to use their core energy to reflect the heat. They did what he said, however. He didn't use the core energy by himself, as he had much greater tolerance to heat. Finally, the total strength fell down to 6,000. When the examiner saw that no one was forfeiting anymore, his younger brother came by with an ice-style dragon. He told his brother to give him a chance. His brother stopped his dragon's firepower and allowed him to use his. The younger brother ordered his ice dragon to blow extremely freezing wind at the participants and freeze them near death. The students were caught off guard by this sudden temperature change. It affected them so badly that instantly the population dropped to 1,000. Hence, the first round was finished. In reward of tolerating such drastic temperature changes, the students were awarded free blankets to the students to cover themselves. The students were told by the examiner that the next test was going to be held soon. Everyone was panicked and thought that was type of brutal torture was heading their way. However, the examiner told them that they shouldn't be worried because the next test was just the aptitude measuring test. When the next round started, circles were drawn around a group of students randomly. Shin and Yi were separated from each other, but Shin told Yi to not panic and try her best because he would be watching her from the sides. The groups comprised 10 students each. Yi was in group 1, therefore she was called forth in the examination hall first. When they entered the hall, a beautiful and extremely rare dragon was waiting for them to come. It was a sensory-type dragon who was able to see through a person's aptitude and capabilities with just one glance. Everyone in the Yi's group was examined. The results were calculated and were going to be announced. They called forth each person and told them their total points. One candidate even scored 90 in potential. He became the main attraction of the crowd, as everyone was talking about him because he was an absolute genius among geniuses, although most of the people scored 80. 85, but no one crossed 90. Then Yi was called forth to collect her result. Shin was curious to know whether she made it or not. When the announcer saw her results, he asked the spirit-type dragon master once more whether the results were right and didn't have any mistakes. She replied that it's correct and has been checked by herself multiple times. Therefore, the announcer announced Yi's result anyway. Everyone wondered that maybe her result was so bad that the examiner had to check it twice. Shin's curiosity grew even higher, to the point that he was almost going to die because of it. However, when results were announced, she scored 100 in talent, 99 in physique, and 99 in talent. Everyone in the crowd, including Shin, were in awe to hear that. Nothing like that had happened before. It was an almost perfect result of a perfect genius. Even with that humongous talent, she looked toward Shin and smiled cutely. After her results were announced, a person came and told her to sit on the royal chair because they didn't want to make the genius stand like the others. Everyone was surprised by such royal treatment. Despite sitting on the royal chair, she still waved at Shin, which made the whole crowd go crazy as a cute princess with such a high score was waving at him. Shin was really enjoying the moment and the jealousy of other students. The exam proceeded, and Yan's aptitude was examined. When the results were calculated, Yan scored a total of 295, only 3 points less than Yi. That beautiful ice queen also became the center of everyone's attention. She was also treated with the same royalty with a golden tier dragon master guarding them. The Dragon Battle School really knew how to give proper treatment to their geniuses. Next was Jin's group. Eventually, he was called forth and examined. When the announcement started, the announcer said that he had to check the result because someone had unbelievable results. Due to cute Princess Yi's attention toward Shin, everyone thought that maybe Shin was the one who scored even higher than Yi. The results were checked and no mistakes were found, therefore, Shin was called forth and his result was announced. Everyone was eagerly waiting for his scores. When the results were announced, it was truly an unbelievable result, however, not on the good side. He scored an unbelievably low score of 66 in each category. Everyone laughed at him and called him an absolute useless and unworthy person. Hearing such trolls, Yan was even more furious than Shin himself. She had a true intent of killing all of the laughing students. Even the guards guarding were scared of her anger. However, Yi calmed her somehow, but still Yi was shocked by herself. However, Shin didn't lose his hope and waited for complete results to be announced and see where he lies. Unfortunately, he was in the 1000th place. As the school stated before, only 100 of them were going to receive their joining letter. Shin lost all his hope and wondered that maybe this was it for him, as destiny wanted him to be separated from Yi and Yan. However, the examiner announced that the failing students still had one more chance. Only 1 out of 900 students could make it into the school through revival competition. Shin hopes raised again, as there was still a chance for him to get together with Yi and Yan. Meanwhile, all the winning 100 candidates were called to receive their joining letters. When Yi and Yan heard that a revival competition was going to be held, they decided to stay behind and watch over Shin. The guard asked them to not engage with those failing peasants. When they heard that, a true killing intent was reflecting from their eyes and angrily said to the guard to not talk trash about Shin. If only Shin could see that both of her precious girls were angry at the gold-tier guard for him. However, he had an even greater challenge ahead of him. The 900 candidates were acting like packs of wolves who were chasing after